and welcome to our annual Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show. This show gives us the perfect opportunity to introduce to our wonderful viewers some of the teachers that make up the fantastic professional educator teaching field here in St. Lucie Public Schools. These 40 teachers that we're bringing to you just represent some 2,100 plus other professional educators. We're spotlighting the work that they do every day to make our community a bigger, brighter, and better place for our students. And at this time, we're welcoming to the Teacher of the Year Spotlight, Mr. Daniel Gelato, who's the dynamic Teacher of the Year for Fairlawn Elementary School. Mr. Gelato, welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Joining us also is the wonderful Patricia Gascoigne, who's the interim principal at Fairlawn Elementary. Ms. Gascoigne, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you.
And let's get this out of the way because we need all of our viewers to know, Ms. Gascoigne, that we're Fairlawn for a reason. Yes, yes, yes. And we're about to talk about one of those wonderful reasons right now with Mr. Gelato. I'm happy to talk to you because I've had an opportunity to work with you, but it also lets me introduce you to some of our viewers. So, Mr. G, if you would just give our viewers just a little bit about your background.
Okay, I've been teaching in the St. Lucie County School District for 21 years. I went to college at Florida Atlantic University, graduated in 1981, kind of took a sabbatical in the business industry for about 16 years, and was fortunate enough to start teaching at St. Lucie Elementary in 1997. And then I got the job at Fairlawn about 5 years ago, and I've been very happy the whole 21 years that I've been doing it. Love every minute of it.
Awesome, awesome. And Ms. Gascoigne, just in case someone doesn't know who the wonderful Patricia Gascoigne is, give us a little bit about your background.
Oh, I'm Mrs. Gascoigne. I've been at Fairlawn for quite a few years, and I've had the opportunity of taking over as Mrs. Holmes retired. I have had the chance to work with Mr. Gallardo and wonderful staff here at Fairlawn. I've been a language arts teacher throughout the years prior to doing my administrative work, and I take great pride in filling in and doing the righteous stuff in terms of working with our schools.
Mr. Gelato, tell everybody, what do you teach?
I teach art in an elementary school. I teach K to 5.
So if I were to walk into your classroom tomorrow, at any time, what would I see?
You would see students that are learning about artists. You would see students that are creating art. You would see students that are learning about art history. You would see students that are using technology. You would see students that are connecting core subject areas to the arts. And I know you would see a lot of excited faces because when they come in my room, they're generally very happy to be there and excited to have their one day a week where they can really be, creative.
So you mentioned that if I came into your room that I might see some students using technology. So how do you purposefully plan the use of technology to teach art?
I use technology sometimes for the students to do research if they have to do a drawing and they need to, look up something to reference it because that's an easy way to find things, so I use it for that. I use it for teaching things when I'm pulling up videos about artists or styles of art or things that, that we're going to be working on when I have to pull up some examples. I use it, in my classroom, I use the projector a lot when I'm doing step-by-step lessons where I want everyone in the classroom to be able to see what I'm doing. It's a lot easier than, the kids in the back of the room not necessarily being able to see what I'm doing up close. So I use it in that respect.
You also mentioned that when your students come in, they're really already excited because of their day of art. But you still have to plan how to engage those students. So how do you plan engagement?
Well, I've been doing my subject for 20 years, like I said, so I've kind of learned what works and what doesn't work. That's a big part of it. But I learned with the younger grades from kindergarten through second grade that it's really important to break it up into small pieces rather than doing it all as one big lesson. We start out with a story, then we connect the story to whatever art project that we're going to be doing, and then we get the lesson on how we're going to create the art project, and then of course they have their time to actually be creative. So we kind of break it up into 3 smaller mini lessons instead of just one big lesson.
What's the favorite part of your day?
Favorite part of my day is mentoring. I love mentoring students. When they come to me at the end of the day, when they've had a great day, I like to pick students that, are struggling in some other area, if they're having a problem with behavior or with whatever they're learning in the classroom. I've worked with students that were select mute, weren't talking in school, so that kind of thing, where I'm mentoring to kind of get them comfortable and happy to be in school and be there to learn, which is what we're all about.
Ms. Gascoigne, you have the wonderful privilege of seeing the magic happen in Mr. Gelato's room every day. So when you visit the classroom, what is it that you see here, and how does it make you feel?
It's always a pleasure to visit Mr. Gelato's class, and I almost never want to leave. I can tell you I've jumped right in to do part of those artworks that he is actually having the students complete. I can tell you from the start of his lesson, it's one of the most intriguing things, because he actually sits and he does read alouds with his students prior to starting any lesson that he has. It's always related to whatever standard he is addressing and or whatever types of art that he is actually completing with the students for that day. So I can tell you, whether it is talking about pottery, in which he's reading about a book on I Am a Butterfly, and it talks about the different metamorphosis and the changes that a butterfly does, similar to what changes the pottery will do. Or it's Camille and the Sunflower, where he reads aloud, and then he's talking about Van Gogh, and it's just a great depiction of how the students' life would envision Van Gogh's life, because it clearly talks about that. So I tell you, if it's one classroom I know I enjoy dearly when I go in there, he almost would wonder, is Miss Gascoigne leaving? Because I am willing to pull up a chair, and while I am doing my observations, we get through it, and then I can tell you I'm in it there, in deep, pulling my sleeves up, and I'm actually participating with the students.
And that's true. She's got all the artwork on the doors of her office, so I can always see what lessons she was observing when she was in my room.
What she participated in.
Exactly.
So, Mr. Gelato, you kind of mentioned to me that you kind of took a detour for some years. But have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
Yes, absolutely.
When did you first discover?
Okay, I was first inspired as a teacher by my 6th grade teacher, Mr. Hannon, and he was my inspiration because he kind of saved my life in 6th grade. I was having a rough time in 5th grade in school, and he kind of took me under his wing a little bit and realized that, I guess he saw my artistic potential. That's really what impressed me, is that he pulled that out of me and made me feel important in the classroom and made me feel valued, and he made me want to come to school every day. And before that, I was having a rough time. So he was the first teacher who inspired me to teach. But when I got to high school, I decided I really loved to help others more so than just creating the art myself. It was really a part of helping that I really enjoyed most.
So, Ms. Gascoigne, tell me, to be the Teacher of the Year at Fairlawn, you are actually involved in many other aspects of the class, of the operation of school. What other things would we find Mr. Gelato involved with?
He is, whether it's in school or out of school, but clearly he's always given of himself. He's very resourceful in helping the other teachers or the other staff members who would need anything that needs to be completed, whether it's artistically or even just to lend support. But he is always involved in the different aspects, the different activities that are there. He's always present. He's always very supportive with that measure. So when you talk about being creative and being involved, you talk about Mr. Gallardo and supporting his peers.
Mr. Gelato, you are automatically the ambassador for education at Fairlawn Elementary School. So what advice do you offer to new teachers?
Okay, the advice I would give to new teachers is to be mentored by as many teachers at your school as you possibly can. I thought this would be a great district initiative, because I think the biggest problem we have with new teachers is they don't get a lot of experience watching other teachers teach. And I think when you've got a lot of veteran teachers in a school, that new teachers should be able to go and observe each one so that they can see how they manage the classroom, how they keep the students engaged, how they use all different kinds of activities to keep kids on task. And I think that would be a big thing. Mentoring with other teachers and just seeing how other people do the same job that you're expected to do. I think that would be the best thing that I would advise them.
Also, as a teacher, you have the opportunity to kind of share with parents on a regular basis. What advice do you offer to parents to help them make sure that their child would be successful?
The advice I would give parents would be keep the enthusiasm. You know how you go to school the first day and everyone's smiling and excited about coming to school? Keep that enthusiasm, because if you have it, your child's going to have it. You don't ever want to, be competing with the school. You want to make sure that you're working collaboratively. You want to be a team. You want to make sure that your child is the goal and their education is the thing that you're after. You want to make sure that they're that everyone's focused on the same thing, and definitely keep the enthusiasm.
So, as a Teacher of the Year at Fairlawn, you're in the running to be Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools. When that happens, you will have the opportunity to talk to the school board members, to the superintendent, other colleagues or lawmakers. What would your message be to them?
My message would be that St. Lucie County is a great place to learn. I think we can always do better, but I think it's a great place for learning. It's a great place for teamwork, and I think we're on the road to be the most successful district in the whole state. We just got to keep working towards that goal.
So, Mr. Gascoigne, describe Mr. Gelato for me using 3 adjectives, and tell me why you chose those 3.
I can clearly state 3 wonderful adjectives for Mr. Gelato. I will start with the most in relation to him with art. He's very creative. We look to him for the support in and out of the classroom. It goes far beyond. You're in awe when you see the magical work that he produces, and not only by himself, but what he allows other children to perform and do themselves. He is also success-driven. Mr. Gelato takes what he does seriously. He can be found winning most of the fair contests for St. Lucie County Fair. I can tell you that he will lend himself to being supportive in terms of the data that we have at school, and being a part of finding ways in which he can help to improve using his students and taking his art time to dig deeper to get the results that we need. And I can tell you also he gives back to his community in terms of being part of the Empty Bowl project that he does on his own time on the weekends. So with that, I can say one last thing, that he is very resourceful. He clearly can be caught doing magical work, things that he, whether it is art or whether it is, as you can see, him infusing the reading into his into the content. So he's just a very impressive individual, and a teacher in which I know has a classroom that's conducive to learning, and one in which we know always goes far.
So what makes him the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Just what he produces, his work. Just being able to reach the students, being able to be that mentor, that mentee, to be a community liaison, one in which he can actually work with others and bring in the community, or work for and help assist the community. He takes great pride in being able to give back. That's what makes a Teacher of the Year, whether it's in or out of the classroom, and more or less reaching the students and getting the results. Being able to be that mentor to those kids, in which we know are the most difficult, but we know we can turn to him, and his name is always first on the list to go to say, okay, we needed to be this role model for this particular student, and he gladly takes them in.
Mr. Gelato, when did you first fall in love with teaching?
I first fell in love with teaching was my first year teaching. When I started doing it, I knew I always wanted to do it, because like I said, I took a break. I couldn't actually find a job when I first graduated, because it was kind of a tough time in '81 for teachers and finding jobs. But when I finally got in the classroom, I knew I was hooked. I couldn't stop. I just knew that was where I needed to stay and where I needed to be.
So what is it that fuels you every day?
What fuels me is the enthusiasm my students have. Every time they come into my classroom, they get me energized, because they're at the doorway waiting, and they're looking in the window, and they're ready to learn and be creative. And that always fuels me, because their enthusiasm is contagious, without a doubt.
How do you see the work that you do preparing students to be college and or career ready?
Well, I try to prepare my students just to show them the connections that art has to the real world. You know, that it is important. It is an important part of our society. It's an important part of every core subject that they are learning. I try to make connections to art and math and social studies and science and reading so that they can see that it's one big world. It's not just little islands that we're dealing with here. So they can try to make those correlations. And then when they finally make their step into college or their career, that they've kind of had a good experience, that they know that, you know, they can, you know, be prepared for whatever they're planning.
You talked about taking a little detour. So at your core, at your heart of hearts, why are you a teacher?
Because I love what I do. I just love what I do. I'm happy every day when I get to work. I tell students all the time when we talk about careers and things, I say, I hope you are as happy going to work every day as I am coming to work every day. Because seriously, I love what I do, and I hope you love what you do, because you don't want to go to work every day miserable. You want to go to work smiling and happy that you're doing what you're doing.
Well, let's wrap it up. All encompassing. What do you know for sure?
I know for sure that my students are enjoying what they do at Fairlawn. I know that they are happy with what they're doing. I know that, you know, if they're not happy, they're going to let me know, and I'm going to make the changes that I need to do. I know for sure that, you know, they're going to be the success that they can be based on the teamwork that we have at our school, with our parents, with our administration, and with all the teachers.
Thank you for your creativity, for being a great mentor, and all of the work that you're doing at Fairlawn Elementary. Congratulations on your selection
Thank you
as the
for
Teacher of the
having me.
Year. Ms. Gascoigne, as the interim principal there, thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing as well. And we're so excited as we continue to celebrate what's happening with you in your classroom and the work at Fairlawn Elementary, where we're Fairlawn for a reason. Yes.
What this place needs is better graduation rates.
What this place needs is less childhood obesity.
What this place needs is free help with taxes.
What this place needs is healthy breakfast.
What this place needs is fitness programs for kids.
What this place needs is early readers.
What this place needs is mentors for teens.
What this place needs is people to join us. What this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org.
And at this time, we want to welcome to the Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show, Dr. William Britton. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
He is the dynamic Teacher of the Year over at St. Lucie West Centennial High School. He's brought along with him the fantastic assistant principal there, Mr. Russell Ader, joining us as well. Mr. Ader, welcome.
Thank you.
So, Doc, just in case our viewers don't know you, I'm sure there may be one or two, would you kind of briefly introduce yourself, a little bit about your background for our viewers?
Yes, sir. My name is William Britton. I've been teaching at Centennial High School now for 9 years. This is actually my 28th year as an educator. I currently teach physics, AP physics, honors geometry, but I've taught just about every math and every science class in high school over 28 years. I graduated from Pensacola Christian College, got my bachelor's and master's from there, and I have a Doctor of Ministries degree in Christian education from Landmark Baptist College. So like I said, 28 years, love what I do, and plan on doing it for, well, I hope another 28.
At least.
Yes,
least.
sir.
And Mr. Ader, introduce yourself and let us know how you came to be the proud assistant principal over at St. Lucie West Centennial.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, I'm Russell Ader, the assistant principal at Centennial High School. I am here today representing Miss Andrea Popwell. I've been at Centennial now for 3 years, and I have the privilege of working with the math department, and it's my honor and my privilege to be here with Dr. Britton today.
Great, great. I'm excited about this show, Doc, Mr. Ader, because it gives us an opportunity to, first of all, congratulate you on your selection. But then it gives us the opportunity to introduce some of the very dynamic, awesome, wonderful teachers that we have working with our students every day to our viewing public. So we know that you're the physics kind of math teacher over at St. Lucie West Centennial High School, but in the position, and when I'm hearing the subjects that you're teaching upper level students?
Yes, sir. I actually teach a 9th grade honors geometry. I have 2 sections of those. This year with honors physics and AP physics, I teach predominantly juniors and seniors. And then I also had a double blocked senior geometry class for those students who have struggled in math for the last 3 years in high school and needed to get that credit in order so they could graduate. So I've also done that as well. So I've kind of run the gambit of just about all grades.
So tell me, if I were to walk into Dr. William Britton's class on tomorrow, what would I see?
Well, tomorrow's geometry because it's a day 2. First thing we do in my geometry class with my freshmen, we've been focusing, of course, because it's an EOC class, about maintaining our level, improving our score. So I try to start with some exercises that work towards deepening their thinking, think a little deeper. So we'll start with some exercises that are maybe some lateral thinking that are a little bit aside from math, just to get their brains working so when they look at problems that they can analyze what's there, what's the information that's important. And then from there, we'll go into the lesson. Usually we try and have the students do some problems, sometimes work together, sometimes work in groups as we go through. And then obviously we finish it up with, yes, homework.
The dreaded homework.
The dreaded homework.
So sometimes when we have those challenging math and science classes, kids kind of shy away from them. So how do you plan engagement into your instruction?
I think predominantly in the geometry classes. I think with the math, a lot of times the long-term lecture can just really make kids, they want to go to sleep, which we all would want to do. So really I just try to keep things moving along in different things. Like I said, we start the lesson with some different activities that are not necessarily math related, but just try to get, especially first thing in the morning at 7:30, most students come in, they're not really ready for math. Try to keep the teaching time so that it's not an hour and a half in the block schedule that we have. And then, go back and forth. Have them do some problems, have them work with somebody else, come back to some instructions. Try to always incorporate review, get lots of participation. That's usually what I do there. In my physics classes, we have things like laboratories. We have some different demonstrations that we do. And to be honest with you, the students are always thrilled when you have something that they can work with.
About a lab, yeah.
Yeah, they always love labs.
Yeah. So, in your class, do you have an opportunity to also plan for and use technology?
The biggest technology I use, for 28 years, when I first started, my only technology was a chalkboard.
Yeah.
Then I graduated to a dry erase board. I was very excited.
Wow.
Now I actually have a computer. I have, a projector, so I do a lot more online. I've started a little bit with Khan Academy and some Math Nation with my geometries. I know we're going to be getting some laptop cards for geometry and algebra specifically, so I'm going to hope to actually bring that into my geometry maybe once every week or two. And then, of course, with physics, we have the different apparatuses that we use.
Always, yeah.
Although the favorite I think the students had the most fun with is we used little Nerf guns for a projectile lab. I think they had more fun with those than just about anything.
So, Mr. Ader, you have the opportunity working with the math department to see the magic happen in Dr. Britton's class each and every day. What is it that you see, hear, and or feel when you visit his room?
Okay, when you walk into Dr. Britton's classroom, there is always engagement. Dr. Britton is the type of teacher where the kids can relate to and connect to. Dr. Britton makes the learning environment fun, yet rigorous. And he has a certain with-itness that the kids just buy into immediately. With that being said, none of the content or the academic rigor is ever sacrificed. So it's a nice feeling of kids being comfortable, yet ready to learn. If that makes sense.
Yes. So, Doc, tell me this. Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher? And if not, when did you figure it out?
Throughout all of my life in school, I was always really good at math and science. I had some really good science and math teachers. I went to a small private Christian school, so I was fortunate enough that I had several teachers for 5 or 6 different classes in math and science. I actually started out as an engineering major, not because I wanted to be an engineer, but because I was good at math and science. So it really wasn't until towards the end of my freshman year of college that through talking with different people, through some interactions with some teachers at college, that I decided, you know what, I think this is actually what I want to do. I don't really want to be an engineer. And so I think that's really how I came to it. And I went home, told my dad and mom that, hey, I'm going to switch my major. They looked at me and went, really? Are you sure? And have never regretted it. I love what I do.
So when you think about switching your major, do you think that there might have been a teacher along the way that kind of inspired you?
If I had one teacher more than any other, would be Mr. White Mr. White, I had him for chemistry, I had him for physics, I had him for advanced math, geometry. Again, because of the small Christian environment, one teacher for many subjects. And I think a lot of the way I am actually mirrors him, even his sense of humor. I will not lie, after 28 years, I still occasionally use some of his jokes.
Wow, after 28 years.
After 28 years. They're still good.
So, Mr. Hager, we know that to be the teacher of the year, that person is not just in their classrooms all day long. They're kind of helping the school work. So what other things would we find Dr. Britton involved in at St. Lucie West Centennial High?
Okay, well, this is actually a very long list. Besides being an amazing teacher, Dr. Britton is our department head. So he has his hand on the pulse of every math class that's going on at Centennial. Dr. Britton also tutors twice a week after school for geometry EOC. In addition to that, he does credit recovery. In addition to that, he does pull out and push in support for kids that need additional support. In addition to that, he goes to the SAC meetings and he goes to the faculty council meetings. And in addition to that, he is constantly, you'll see him sometimes out at lunch duty. He mentors new teachers, and he is Clin Ed certified, so sometimes you'll see college students that want to be teachers in his classroom. And I think I might be missing one or two, but Dr. Britton has his hands on the pulse of the school probably more than any other staff member.
So, Dr. Britton, Mr. Hager mentioned it. So as a teacher of the year, you automatically become the ambassador for education at St. Lucie West Centennial. So what advice do you offer to those new teachers?
If I would offer any advice to a new teacher, you have to have a thick skin and you have to have stick-with-itness. You got to be committed to the job. The first year is always going to be rough. If anybody tells you otherwise, I think they're lying to you. If you can survive that first year, if you can hook yourself up with some good mentors. When I made the transition from Christian school to public school, that was 9 years ago, I was in for a whole different world, but Sandy Medding took me under her wing, and if it wasn't for Sandy Medding and Harold Frizzell, I don't think I would have survived my first year in public school. And I had been teaching for 19 years. So I think no matter what environment you go into, I would tell a new teacher, get with somebody who knows the ropes and can help you navigate so that when bad things come, they can help you get through them. They can guide you into what's the best strategies to use in the classroom, what are the best techniques to use in discipline to really help you out. So that's what I would say.
What advice would you offer to parents to help them ensure that their child will be successful?
I think many times that, and I've heard from numerous parents, I can't help my kid in this math because of the higher levels that I teach. I think it's important that parents encourage their students to do their work, to participate actively in class, to use the available tools that are out there. I mean, on the St. Lucie County website, we have access to Math Nation, we have access to Khan Academy. We have so many different tools that they can use, that if they would also allow their students and help their students, that they could help them at home learn. And then, of course, just have students be willing to interact with the teacher. The easiest students to teach are the ones who ask you questions and participate in class. The hardest ones to always judge are those ones that you feel like you're constantly trying to pull anything out of them. So I would say, for parents, get your kids to be engaged in the classroom.
Mr. Hager.
Yes, sir.
Please describe for me Dr. Britton using 3 adjectives. Tell me why.
Okay. First, I would say Dr. Britton is informed. As I mentioned earlier, he has a pulse on all of the math curriculum from liberal arts 1 and 9th grade all the way through trigonometry and calculus in the upper school. He is also informed in the EOC and the testing and the rigor and the standards and the strategies and the changes that come from the state and the district and so on. So he keeps himself very well informed. I would also add to that, he is involved. Again, Dr. Britton is involved in serving on school committees, helping kids after school, before school, helping out colleagues whenever they need help, mentoring, and so on. And the other one I would say is innovating. And I use that word on purpose because he's an innovating teacher. He is one of those teachers that runs with his DPP each year. Each year that I've worked with Dr. Britton, he has stepped out of his comfort zone, which is a brave thing to do for a teacher, and chosen a DPP that may not be quote-unquote math related. So for instance, using physical movement, like Dr. Britton mentioned earlier, where he has the courage to allow students to move around the classroom and get with groups, and is kind of out of that normal comfort zone for a math teacher. So I applaud him for that. So informed, involved, innovating.
Informed, involved, innovating. So what makes him the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
I believe he's the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year. In addition to everything I've mentioned with all of the extracurricular activities that Dr. Britton is involved in, and with the rigor and his test scores and his unit assessments, he manages to do all of those things and will still be there on Friday night to support the kids at the football game, or after school to see the kids in a parade or at an event. So on top of everything else, he still believes and enjoys the kids, and that's refreshing.
Dr. Britton.
Yes, sir.
When did you first fall in love with teaching?
That's a hard one to answer, but I think for me, the love of teaching comes from whether it was, back when I was in high school, over 28 years, or even just as recently as this past weekend. I think my love for teaching comes from the fact that when I help somebody and they go, I get it, and I had success. I do tutoring for general knowledge math for the district. And just this weekend, one of the teachers at Centennial had gone through my general knowledge tutoring. She didn't pass the math on the first try. She's like, I need help, let's do some more. She took the test last Friday, and she texted me and she said, I passed. I think she said it 3 times. Lots of balloons and stuff. And to me, that's where my love of teaching comes from, is when you see somebody succeed. When you know that you've helped somebody succeed, whether it's a student, back when I was in high school, tutoring kids there, through my teaching now, or even just helping other teachers. That's really where my love of teaching comes from.
So in your heart of hearts, knowing that it's your love, what generates your love for teaching, but in your heart of hearts, Doc, why are you really a teacher?
I think I'm a teacher because I want to build those relationships with students to help them succeed in life. One of my former students actually came back. He was going through his bachelor's at IRSC, came back and observed my class at Centennial, and he is now a teacher. And I sit here and look at that, and it's like, wow, I had a part in that. And I just think that's awesome.
So to be as involved as you are in the extra things that happen on your campus, but also with the district, to also be the chair and the teacher as well, there has to be something that drives you. What is the fuel that makes you keep going and going and going?
I guess I would just say I want to help. I just want to help people. I think that's really what it comes down to. Whether it's students or other teachers, I just really feel that I want to help people.
So let's wrap it up. Here's my final question to you.
Okay.
What is it that you know for sure?
I know for sure that my faith, my family, my friends have had a profound impact on me, and I just want to be able to share that with others and help them do.
Well, I'm going to tell Mr. White, thank you, as well as those other teachers that you've had along the way.
Yes.
Mr. Ada, thank you for bringing Dr. Britton to our attention and being with him today as we celebrate all of the wonderful work that teachers are doing in St. Lucie Public School. Dr. White, Dr. Britton, think about your teacher there.
Yes,
Dr. Britton, thank you so much and congratulations on being selected as the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie West Centennial High School, and we wish you nothing but the best as you continue to inform, enlighten, be involved, and innovating with those students at St. Lucie West Centennial High.
Thank you, Dr. Perry.
Son, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
We're welcoming at this time to our Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show, Ms. Sherry Maxon, who's the dynamic Teacher of the Year over at Southern Oaks Middle School. Ms. Maxon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Berry. I'm blessed to be here.
Joining her is Bridget Hager, who's the awesome principal at Southern Oaks. Ms. Hager, welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here today.
We're so glad to have both of you with us because it gives us a chance to celebrate teaching here in St. Lucie Public Schools. Gives us a chance to tell you congratulations and to also introduce to many of our viewers some of the fantastic professional educators that we have that's making St. Lucie a bigger, brighter, and better place for our students every day. I know you, Ms. Maxon, but maybe there's just somebody that's watching that does not know who the awesome Ms. Sherry Maxon is. So would you briefly introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hello, my name is Sherry Maxon. I'm the proud mother of 3 and wife of a St. Lucie County teacher. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I graduated from Duquesne University with a Bachelor's of Science in Elementary Education. I went on to get my Master's in Educational Leadership and Administration. I'm a lifelong learner who currently teaches 6th grade with dedication and commitment, and I am an aspiring administrator who's passionate about helping teachers.
Thank you. Ms. Hager, just in case someone hadn't met you along the way as well, introduce yourself, please.
I'm Bridget Hager, and I'm the proud principal of Southern Oaks Middle School, and I have been an administrator here in the county since 2008, helping to open up Treasure Coast High School, and I'm really excited to be here today.
So, Ms. Maxon, what subject do you teach?
I teach 6th grade science.
So, if I were to walk into your 6th grade science room tomorrow, what would I see?
You would see students engaged in learning, and you would see students able to articulate what they're learning and why, and able to see that they are doing activities that are at the rigor of the standard, and that you would see also teaching strategies that would help those students meet that learning target. So you will see a lot of hands-on activities and different activities within this, with the classroom.
Okay, so what's your favorite part of teaching?
The students' reactions when they have met a challenge with excitement, and then actually they've gone through and they've met that milestone and overcome it with great success. That aha moment that comes over them.
So, Ms. Hager, you get the wonderful pleasure of seeing the magic occur every day in Ms. Maxon's room. When you visit, what is it that you see, hear, feel?
I see a teacher who's super passionate about teaching 6th grade science. I see a teacher who has planned a variety of activities to go bell to bell, to engage their curiosity, to help them understand the nature of science. And I see someone who cares about every single child in the classroom and who is working very hard to make sure the entire classroom goes with her on their learning journey.
Ms. Maxon, have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
Dr. Perry, I did not. I actually, for several years, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do until I came upon an amazing educator that helped change the focus of my entire journey. And at that moment, I knew that I wanted to pay it forward. I knew the time that he had taken with me and helped me shape my future and the amazing journey that I've now been on. Because of that, I knew that I wanted to be an educator and pay it forward.
So you have to keep 6th graders engaged. And I know oftentimes in science, with the labs and experiments and things, they're naturally inquisitive about that. But how do you purposefully plan engagement for instruction?
The best way to plan for engagement is to make learning meaningful. You want to make connections. You want to give them a sense of competence so that they have a sense of, I can do it. And when you build autonomy and they get that buy-in and they want to be there and they're so eager to work and keep a lively pace, it's so important to keep a lively pace in the classroom.
And how do you use technology to help you teach your science class?
I use a variety of technology, including the online tutorials that are embedded in our science toolkit. I also use review tools such as Quizlet and Kahoots. And I'm a big fan of the online music raps. My kids love to help them remember the content.
Great, great. Ms. Hargadine, to be the teacher of the year, we know that that person is actively engaged in the total operation of the school. What other activities would we see Ms. Maxon engaged in that help Southern Oaks work?
Ms. Maxon is an amazing educator on our campus. She is a leader in every sense of the word. She is our science department chair. She is facilitating all of our collaborative planning for grades 6 through 8 in science. She is a leader on PBIS, so she's working very hard on positive behavior intervention and supports for our students. You will see her running in-school basketball showcases where we're integrating the high school basketball players into the middle school as a reward for PBIS and to really build that connection to high school for our students. She's our student-led conference coordinator, so she's taken on leadership in organizing and planning so that all of our students in the entire school can have meaningful experience with their parents reflecting on their learning. She's part and parcel working hard with first-year teachers, mentoring so many first-year teachers in our building. So I'm not sure quite when she sleeps, but I do know she has a huge impact on our building.
So you're the ambassador for education at Southern Oaks. What do you say to new teachers?
Remember to breathe. Don't try to do everything at once, but take a breath and be part and take in the amazing journey that you're about to partake upon, because it's in the relationships that you build with your students and the rapport that you'll be able to impart your knowledge and be able to successfully teach students, and then above all, find a mentor, because we have so many highly qualified teachers in St. Lucie County that are so willing to work with you and help you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
So tell me what your conversations are like with parents. What do you say to them to help them ensure that their child will be successful?
Knowledge, the more knowledge you have, knowledge is power. So knowledge and knowing who your students' teachers are, your child's teachers, and knowing what they're learning and monitoring their progress. And like the students, don't be afraid to ask questions. We're here for you, and together we're going to help you, and we're able to help with the overall success of your child. So it's so important that way they're able to integrate their classroom's experience into the real world. So you knowing what they're doing really helps them be able to do that. So powerful.
As the Teacher of the Year for Southern Oaks Middle School, are you, along with all of the teachers, that 39 other Teachers of the Year, will actually compete for Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools? What would your message be to our community, to lawmakers about education?
That we need more believers. We need to respect our teachers and really get the message across that this is a very noble profession, necessary, and that it is through teaching that all things are made possible. We need to promote love and elevate our teachers, because our education system and the teachers that make that up and the communities that make it up are so valuable. There's just it is just, it's so valuable. It needs to be in the front, and we really do need to promote our education and our educators.
So, Ms. Hargadine, describe Ms. Maxon for me using 3 adjectives, and then tell me why you chose those 3.
Absolutely. Ms. Maxon is passionate, she is strategic, and she, well, I don't know how to put this into one word. She aspires to excellence in all that she does. In terms of her passion, you could not ask for more passion from a teacher to be doing the right thing by our students. It comes out in her long hours, in her planning, in her involvement with each and every student, and in making sure that lessons are well designed and that they are able to bring every child forward. She's very strategic. She is that lifelong learner who will go out and learn new strategies, make sure she understands what it is that we are asking these students to do, and then she will find ways to make sure that all students can get there.
Ms. Maxon, when did you first fall in love with teaching?
The moment I walked through the doors of my first classroom, having those students eagerly look back at me and knowing that I had such an impact, their questions, their smiles, their milestones by the end of that year, as much as I felt that I was going to be able to impart to my students, they have just, they blessed me so far beyond what I had ever imagined. So it was an instant love the moment I walked through the doors.
So you have 6 more years before your students that you're teaching now graduate. How do you see yourself preparing them to be career or college ready?
I take this very seriously. From the moment they walk in my classroom, I feel that the sky, the limit is endless of my responsibility to prepare them for the overall student and one day the productive citizen that they will one day become. That begins with teaching bell to bell, visible learning, the targets, making sure I strategically plan, that I'm making sure that the rigor of the standard and the activities and the instructional strategies are met day in, day out, and helping them not just with the ABCs, but the life skills that are so desperately needed, imparting compassion by being compassionate, showing them to be compassionate, and ultimately to build productive citizens that are going to one day come back and be a part of our community and essentially our world.
Is this something new and or exciting that you're working on this year?
Yes. I am so excited to be taking on more roles outside of the classroom, and one of the biggest one that's actually affecting the entire school is I've become the student-led conference coordinator, in which I've helped students, over 900 students, set their goals and then articulate the action steps of how to reach those goals, and that reflection piece that is just so essential, that not just for today, but always, and especially when you're looking to your future and planning your career, just that power, you know, it's so empowering, and I'm so excited about it.
So, Ms. Hargadine, what makes Ms. Maxon the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Ms. Maxon is a systemic thinker, a passionate educator. She knows that she is impacting not only our school, but our community. She works very hard to bring our community into her classroom, and she works very hard to ensure that not just her students are being successful, but all students in our school are being successful. I could not ask for a more hardworking and talented teacher.
To be as hardworking as you are, dedicated as you are, taking on many roles that you spearhead, what is it that fuels you?
Without a doubt, my God, my family, and my school family. So if you were to break me into parts, those would be what fuel me each and every day.
When will you know that you are a success?
Dr. Perry, I feel that success has different levels. So I feel that requires a two-part answer. I feel in so many ways that I already am a success because of the students that I have come into contact with, and they've come back to me and shared their experiences and how I've made a difference. So in so many ways, and as a mother and wife and, you know, loyal follower, that I am a success, but I will never stop wanting to reach greater limits and greater heights. And being a lifelong learner, I will always strive for greater heights of success.
You talked about not necessarily knowing what you wanted to do. So why are you an educator?
I'm an educator because that's where I was called, and that's what I know in my heart with every being of my fiber that I'm supposed to be. It comes natural to me now. It is who I am. It's no longer it's who I am.
So you've answered the call. So what do you think is the soul of education?
The soul of education is all of the stakeholders involved coming together, despite our diverse backgrounds, to help our students feel part of something greater, that we can instill a deeper meaning, help them feel a part of something greater, and help impart compassion, and then again overall character, so that we can produce productive citizens again that are going to come back to us in this community. So
finish this phrase for me. I believe
that teachers are such an integral part of shaping the future of every student that comes through their doors. I look at it like this: if you think of your head and your neck, the student is the head, because essentially they are in charge of their destiny. But a dedicated, committed teacher can help direct them so they become the neck, helping them to, the direction in which they need to go to achieve their destiny. So I just feel that it's very intricate part of that.
Final question, Ms. Maxon. What do you know for sure?
I know for sure that I make a difference, that this is the most noble profession that there is, and I am sure that I'm making a difference in the lives of the students that I impact each and every day.
Ms. Maxon, congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year.
Thank you.
Ms. Hagerdine, thank you for joining us, and thank you both for letting us celebrate all the wonderful, good things that are happening at Southern Oaks each and every day. And thank you both for what you do every day to ensure that St. Lucie Public Schools are a bigger, brighter, and better place for all of our children. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
At this time, we want to welcome to the Teacher of the Year Spotlight, Mr. Chad Guest, who's the fantastic Teacher of the Year for Mariposa Elementary. Mr. Guest, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Joining us also is Mr. Craig Logue, who's the wonderful principal at Mariposa. Mr. Logue, welcome.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, it is a wonderful chance for us to congratulate you, to celebrate all the good things that's happening at Mariposa, and to take this opportunity to introduce to many of our viewers some of the fantastic teachers that we have here in St. Lucie Public Schools. You being one, representing Mr. Guest, some 2,100 plus professional educators as well.
Yeah.
So again, congratulations and welcome to the Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show.
Thank you.
There may be some people that are watching that just don't know who the awesome Mr. Chad Guest is. So would you please briefly introduce yourself to some of our viewers?
Yes, well, Chad Guest, my name, and I've been teaching. I taught high school, and now I'm doing elementary school, and I went back and got my master's degree in Ohio in conducting performance, and I was going to teach college and or high school, preferably high school at that point in time. And I had finished in the summer of 2012 and the master's degree, and was looking for high school positions, and most of the really good programs, competitive marching band programs, and this and the other. This was in the state of Ohio, were already taken at that time. So. I got on the website and was searching for positions, and I have family and friends down here in Florida, so I looked at a few positions in Indian River County, and the only thing that was open was elementary general music, and I said, I don't want to teach general music, I don't want to do elementary school. That was not in the cards for me at that time. Little did I know, it was. So I applied for a position and had a phone interview and was hired to teach at a Title I F school, and which has actually grown now and has climbed up to a C or B school. So it's doing a fantastic job. So I went into that school and started teaching elementary, K through 5, and I got bitten by the bug. I just really started to I'm a very creative person, and I love teaching band, and I do miss the upper level literature that you can do with the high school level and beyond, but there's something about the creativeness and the challenge of seeing what you can do with the young minds, and these children can do a lot more than what we think they can do. So I've been teaching elementary, K through 5, and now at Mariposa, down here in St. Lucie County, I run after-school programs, not just the regular school day, but I do an instrumental ensemble after school, and I run a choral program, and I'm starting some other things as well. So it's exciting, yeah.
Mr. Logue, introduce yourself to our viewers as well.
Okay. Well, I'm Craig Logue. I've been at Mariposa 14 years. I've been lucky to be in St. Lucie Public Schools that length of time. I've had the great opportunity of working with hundreds and hundreds of students and quite a few staff members, one of which is Mr. Guess. 4 years ago, Mr. Guess came to Mariposa, and when he said he was bitten by the bug, he definitely was very interested in what he could do at our school. And he transformed our performing arts into an incredible program that each year we look forward to new and better things. I guess what you've done is you set the bar here, and it keeps going up there, yeah. Chad. But the community loves the programs that Mr. Guest puts on, and I just feel that his creativeness, which he mentioned, he is just beginning to tap into that.
So, I know you're the K through 5
yes.
music teacher. Mm-hmm. Seeing kindergarten through 5th grade students on a regular rotating basis, mm-hmm. What's your favorite part of teaching?
I would say the favorite part of teaching is seeing the child come into the classroom and having the opportunity to share my passion and love for music and watching them grow. I like the challenge of seeing a child that perhaps less fortunate or has a lot of area of opportunity to grow and to really instill what I have, the passion for, developing rapport with that child and seeing them grow into something, and I like the challenge of that, yes.
Music itself can be engaging,
yes.
But you still have to purposefully plan engagement for your students mm-hmm. in your daily instruction. How do you do that?
Well, I find, I like to find things that are new, innovative, and different, that engages, we're in competition in the world now with children with tablets, all this technology, which is wonderful. I think it has its time and place. But I try to find ways to get into the child's mind through some of the activities that I create and lessons that I create that are new and innovative and something that maybe someone else or other teachers aren't doing in the same discipline as music as what I do. So that's how I do that, yeah.
You talked about tablets and technology.
Yeah.
Do you use technology in your room, and if so, how?
Yeah. So I definitely use technology, and I use GarageBand, which is part of the Apple tablet or Apple program, and so I use that quite a bit with different rhythms, teaching children different rhythms and beats and such, and they have a lot of really cool instruments on there as well. Something I had looked at doing with the children is actually taking the tablet, and you can put different instruments on there like a guitar, and having a part of the performance where they actually strum on the tablet screen to create that sound. I don't want to get away from the aesthetic experience of playing an actual instrument.
Understand.
That I want to be careful of.
Understand.
But I'm more interested in tapping into using the technology to create sounds that you can't create on a physical instrument, because I believe it's very important for children to develop their psychomotor skills by touching and feeling and playing on things. And if we just go to strictly, you can make an orchestra out of a tablet.
Sure you can.
But the feeling of playing an instrument, that I don't want to take away. So I'm more interested in focusing on creating sounds and ways through technology that cannot be played on traditional instruments.
So if I were to walk in the music room at Mariposa on tomorrow, mm-hmm. what would I see?
Well, you would see the students engage in many different activities. Right now, I'm teaching them the notes of the music staff in several grade levels. So
every good boy does fine.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, empty garbage before dad flips.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite one.
Okay.
Something like that. And face, F-A-C-E.
F-A-C-E.
So one of the activities to engage them to do that, instead of just standing at the board and saying, okay, this is E, G, B, D, F. Every good boy does fine. F-A-C-E. Okay. Here's a piece of paper. Write it in. That's no good. So we have a music staff on the floor. I use black light tape, which is really exciting because I do a lot of stuff with the black lights at school. And so I have black light tape set up as music staff on the floor. And what we do, for one example with the older kids, is I put them into groups of like 4 teams. And each team has a different color beanbag. So you got the yellow team, the green team, the blue team, and the purple team, and they have their different colored beanbags. And they'll stand there and they'll toss the beanbag onto the music staff. Wherever it lands, they have to name the note. If they don't get the note right, we take that one off. Whichever team has the most left at the end will win that round. So it's engaging them to think fast, okay, to also learn that someone's going to win the game and someone's going to lose the game, and it's okay. It's part of life. Yeah. So you're teaching a lot. We're covering a lot of skills, basic life skills. Not only that, but they're also learning the notes of the staff, and it's a creative way and fun way to do it.
So, Mr. Logue, you have the opportunity to watch the magic happen every day. When you walk into the music room, what is it that you see, hear, and feel?
It's just, there are so many things that occur in Mr. Guest's room. It's hard to single out some, but I'm going to give you 2 examples. First example, I walked in and the 5th grade at that time was preparing for one of our shows, and they wanted to show me what the whole number was going to sound like, with all the instruments as well as all of them playing at one time. And what I took away from this, when they finished this, I'm one person applauding something that was just an extraordinary thing. But what was so unbelievable was the look on their faces when they were able to perform at a level that I've never heard at an elementary school before. And they just thought that was the greatest thing for the principal to be able to have heard that. And this was the class. This was not a performance. This was just a class of practice that they were doing. Typically, I'll come in there sometimes, not as much as I would like to for Chad, but I'll come in the after-school program. And you want to hear this, Mr. Logue? Yes, I sure do want to hear this. And they'll play a little number they're doing, or the drumline things that we have been able to do through Chad's creativeness on that. I've got to be one of the few schools that has an elementary drumline that we can play things. We did that for a veterans thing this year, and the veterans were so excited. But it's always creative. The most creative one was when you had a puppet of me, Mr. Guest, and you were making it talk to the kids, and they thought that was extremely wonderful.
He's always in the room.
Yeah, I'm always in the room watching. But it's those things. They love music. They love learning what they're getting from music. And that's an extraordinary thing for a general music teacher to be able to do.
So have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
No, not completely. Prior to wanting to be a teacher, I want to be a dentist. I would have made a good living. A lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure glad you chose the other one, though.
So, when I became in 9th grade, when I was now at that time it was junior high school,
yes.
7th through 9th. So middle school band, and I almost did not continue in band. I was playing flute at that time. And my mother said, I think you should continue. So I continued to play in band, and I had a band director who just saw it in me. And she encouraged me. She said, I want you to do solo ensemble contests. I want you to do these things. She said, you have an innate musical spirit you need to carry out. Then the assistant band, there was another band director in there that was also the high school band director at that time. He was new, and he was assisting her. And he became sort of like a role model father figure in my life as a mentoring person who I'm still in contact with today, and I get together with when I go back up to Ohio. So then I knew when I went to a few marching band rehearsals, and I said, I want to be a band director.
Hooked?
Yes, but I wanted to be a high school band director, and that was all I was going to be.
It's my story too.
Yes.
I understand.
Yeah.
So as a teacher of the year,
yeah,
you serve as the ambassador for education at Mariposa. What advice would you give to a new teacher?
You have to really listen. You have to. You can't come in thinking you have all the skills you learned from college, and that's going to take you where you need to go. One of the biggest things I would share with them is you have to build relationships with the students. You have to build a relationship with a student, meaning you have to listen to them. You have to understand that they're an individual person that's uniquely and different from every other student that's there. And you have to take an interest in making when they come into my classroom, I want them to leave being rock stars. I want them to feel like that they've achieved that. And that's the kind of thing that I would impress upon a new teacher, is that you want to make that child feel like they're going to go somewhere and they're going to do something.
If you had an opportunity to speak to some lawmakers or to some community members as Teacher of the Year, what would your message be?
Well, I would, lawmakers in terms of just, you know.
What's good, what's your message to people about education?
Yes.
As the ambassador for education.
Right, right. That each student is not like a cookie cutter.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our own innate talents and gifts that we can bring, that we can share. And sometimes I think we you know, while testing is important to evaluate our students, it also doesn't define the person. And I think we need to find ways that, because some students have certain skills in certain sets that others don't have, but we're all comparing them the same way. So we don't want to do that. I think that we want to really find out where they're, what they have to bring, and that can really shape a community.
You're teaching elementary students. When will you know that you are a success?
When students want to spend time with me, ask me a lot of questions, want to, when they always show up for rehearsal, when they want to perform, when they want to give you the best that they have, you know that you've reached them, you know that you've built that rapport with them, you know that when you can, because I feel a lot of children now, you know, when they're having their tablets and devices and their games, they want instant success. They want to, but you know you have them when you give them something to work on, and they don't get it right away, but they're going to work hard for you because they want to impress. They want to impress you. They want to show you what they can do. That's when you know that you have built a rapport with them. That's a very solid thing.
So, Mr. Logue, what makes Mr. Guest the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
His ability to inspire students to perform at a level that they maybe didn't even think they could do. I'm thinking of one student who has now moved on from our school but had been in our school for 6 years, and Mr. Guest got to work with him. He's now he's moved on to middle school. And he was not he had some difficulties at times. Let's say he spent some time in my office. But Mr. Guest saw in him a musical ability that was pretty astounding. And he fostered that, and he worked with that. And to watch this child grow and see the confidence that he had in an area that he truly loved, and it does turn out that his father is a musician too, but they had not spent a lot of time on that. Mr. Guest was able to bring that out, and that's the uniqueness about Mr. Guest that is so important as Teacher of the Year. He forges those relationships with those children, all of them, so that they understand that this thing called music is something that is truly a remarkable thing, and one that to be practiced. And I think that is another part. Watching kids with him understand that they don't get it the first, second, third, 10th, 12th, 20th time. And watching them, because I'll come in at different times to see where they are in things, and they're saying, we don't quite have it yet, but we're working on it. That alone is something that is really a difficult thing to teach a young child. Mr. Guest has done that.
So what fuels you?
Coming into the classroom, and I like the challenge of seeing where I can take this child. I like the challenge of seeing where the students are at. If they're maybe they're really struggling, I have a few students that that are in my after-school program that really have a tough time in certain areas playing certain notes and certain parts of the song. But what I will do is I will write it out or create it for them so that they have success. So they may not get all 8 notes, let's use this as an example here, but they might get 2 or 3. So that means they're on that train. They've got 2 or 3 notes. So, you know, they're achieving a level of success for them, and they'll eventually get more. And I always tell them, you know, one of the big things I always tell them, because they're always wanting to get everything right now and not wait. And they oh, it's too hard. It's not hard. It's just new. And so that's one of the things that I do with them. Yeah.
So, what do you know for sure?
I know for sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing in my life at this point. I know that it's a very important part of who I am to teach. I spend a lot of time in what I do, even outside of the classroom, as most teachers do. And I believe this is I believe the arts and this kind of skill is a very important part of what we do as a human culture. And so,
final thing.
Yeah.
Finish this phrase for me. The world needs.
The world needs people to be able to foster their creativeness and not be just limited to be told you have to do it just this certain way, because that's the only way it works. Because we all have different types of abilities to bring. I feel like, you know, as technology increases, while it's wonderful, we're becoming too robotic. And I think we're kind of missing some of that ability to use those things to collaborate with others and create something just really cool and unexpected.
Mr. Guest, congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year for Mariposa. Mr. Logue, thank you also for joining us. Mr. Guest, thank you for using music to make Mariposa and St. Lucie Public Schools a bigger, brighter, and better place for all of those students that you teach every day.
Yes,
congratulations.
You. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
Joining us at this time is the wonderful Miss Laurel Seville, who is the Dynamic Teacher of the Year at Northport K-8 School. Miss Seville, welcome to the Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Dr. Perry.
She's brought with her the magnificent Mr. Glenn Ruste, who's the very proud, excited principal at Northport as well. Mr. Ruste, welcome as well.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
We are excited that both of you took this time to join us because, one, Ms. Seville, it gives us the opportunity to congratulate you on your selection. I'm sure your peers have made a wonderful selection of you as the Teacher of the Year. In addition, it gives us the opportunity to introduce to our viewers some of the dynamic teachers that we have in St. Lucie County who are making a difference in the lives of our children every day. Somebody may be watching that does not know the wonderful Laurel Seville. Would you please give them just a little bit about your bio?
Okay, great. Well, my name is Laurel Seville, and I'm previously from New York City. And I've studied classical, modern, and jazz ballet at Performing Arts. And after I left high school, I went to the Army for 7 years. After I went to the Army, I took my bachelor degree at College in New Rochelle, right there in New York City. And then as I transitioned to Florida, I graduated with a master's at American Military University in Education. And I'm currently teaching at Northport K-8 as a kindergarten teacher.
Crisscross applesauce?
Crisscross applesauce all day.
So, here's the thing. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me?
Yes, sir.
So, is it true that everything that I ever really needed to know I learned in kindergarten?
I hope so.
I hope so, too. I hope so. Sometimes I wonder, sometimes. Mr. Ruste, someone may be watching that does not know who awesome Glenn Ruste is. Introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Glenn Ruste, and I am the proud principal at Northport. And this is my 10th year at Northport, 13th year as a principal, and 27th year here in St. Lucie County.
So, Ms. Seville, if I were to walk in the kindergarten classroom at Northport tomorrow,
yes,
what would I see?
Oh, you would see excitement, engagement, dancing, chanting, learning, hugs, high five, praises, all in the classroom.
Awesome, awesome. You know, so kindergarten, Tell me what's the difference between your students from August to January?
A slight maturity. They have matured a little better. They're starting to grasp of our classroom management expectations. They're starting to read. They're starting to understand their letter sounds and connecting them. It's really exciting.
So, Mr. Rusday, you get the opportunity to see the magic happen in Ms. Seville's class every day. Let us in on the secret. What is it that you see, hear, and or feel when you visit?
Well, I think that she worded it very appropriately with excitement. You walk into the classroom and it's excitement. You feel the electricity in the air. And walked in there yesterday. We had to ask her a question, and the kids are all learning. They're all around. They're excited. They're engaged, and very much listening and hanging on every word that she's saying. And definitely a very exciting classroom.
So, Ms. Seville, classical dance in high school, military background. When did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher?
Actually, I was helping my daughter with homework one day, and she has a learning disability. And she said, Mom, you know, I understand it better than my teacher. I understand it better with you than when my teacher explained it to me. And a light bulb went on. I was previously an eligibility specialist for the Department of New York City Services. And I said if I ever change careers, it would definitely be education. If I could reach someone with a learning disability, then I can reach all children.
So we walk into the kindergarten classroom and the pitter-patter of little feet are all over the place. How do you plan engagement knowing how kindergartners are, 5, 6-year-olds?
Okay. Well, I'll give you a quick example. We start with a theme in the classroom. I'll let them know that today we're going to get paid and we have a job. And all of you have been employed in Miss Seville Corporation. And a lot of them raise their hand that they want to work, they want to get paid. And I'll tell them, well, the customer is asking us to identify perhaps 3D shapes. And these are toys that we need. Can you help me? And they all say yes. And they want to get involved, they want to get paid. And so they want to identify those shapes on each of the shelves, which is a sphere or a triangle or a 2D shape or anything like that. And that's my way of engaging them, letting them know the real world, how it works authentically. We also are engaged through clapping, through dancing, through learning videos with sound and music, touching base on all multiple intelligences. So we have a great time in that classroom as well as reaching our learning goals through learning.
In addition, we know that it's very necessary for us to implement technology in instruction. How do you do that in the kindergarten class?
Okay. Well, currently we do have a few computers in our classroom, and we are working on our iReady program. And that is a great program where the students can receive a diagnostic on their reading and math skills. And after using those skills, then we can then determine small groups and instruction in order to allow those students to reach their learning goals without technology integration.
Mr. Rusday, we know that for a person to be selected as the Teacher of the Year, knowing that you are also Teacher of the Year, they must be heavily involved in the total operation of the school each day. What other activities would we find Ms. Seville involved in that helps Northport just to work?
Well, Ms. Seville has been there for 5 years now, and she's pretty much almost every one of the different committees she's been on. She's all over the place in terms of, I know she's helped with cheerleading, I know she's helped with MTSS. She's been on several of the different committees and definitely is very diverse in that as well with us on the committees that we do and the different leadership opportunities that she's had.
So, Ms. Seville, you automatically have become the ambassador for education at Northport. What advice do you give to new teachers?
Oh, if I could give advice to a new teacher, it would be to build relationships with your students. That will allow them to become engaged and to learn effectively, and also build relationships with the parents. Once you build a collaboration between the student and the parent, then nothing is stopping the student to learn, and to have a great communication with the parents is ideal for the classroom.
Communication is a real key between parents and teacher and school. Even more so when the kindergarten teacher gets mom and dad's precious little cargo. Mm-hmm. What advice do you offer to parents to help them ensure that little Johnny will be a success?
Well, day one with our open house, I love to sit down and get to know the parents and give them little tips and strategies on the expectation of our curriculum and how they can have success on an ongoing level. I might say, well, you know what? In the car, you may use flashcards to recite those sight words. You may use flashcards to just identify letter sounds. There's different ways you can make learning fun while you're still busy doing your everyday authentic lifestyle.
In addition to that, you're competing for Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools. You have an opportunity to run into school board members, to the superintendent possibly. As ambassador for education, what would your message be?
My message would be, it's just exciting to be a teacher. I would employ more people go into the profession of education to allow them to be mentors and leaders for our generation today and for our students tomorrow. And continue to push and encourage students because they need that. And not only are we educators, but we are also mentors for our future generation.
Mr. Rusty, describe Ms. Seville for me using 3 adjectives and tell me why.
Well, you've already stolen one of the adjectives twice.
Would I do that to you,
well,
Mr.
you
Rusty?
did. It's like, what? Dynamic, absolutely.
Okay.
Dynamic. You can see that already in here. When you walk into her classroom, the kids emulate her, and she's up there. She's very animated with the students. She's always very dynamic in front, but she also encourages her kids to do that as well. And she's very much, whether it was when she was substituting for us in middle school, and she was long-term permanent, I mean, she really got the kids involved and got the kids, but she did that with, again, her starting as well with the dynamic. The next one is, we've already heard, very diverse. She brings a very diverse background, and she uses that. She utilizes that when she teaches. You heard her again, what she does in the classroom with letting them pick out and choose. But she uses her diversity and what she brings to it, whether it's from the military or from the dance, and she utilizes that in the classroom as well. And we're going with the third D, because she's very determined. She's very determined that she is going to be successful, that her students are going to be successful. And we saw that again, time and time again, where with so many different things, that she is determined that she is going to emulate that success for her kids, and that her kids, no matter what, are going to be successful as well. She's very determined.
So, Ms. Seville, is there something new and or exciting that's happening in your kindergarten class?
Yes, I'm really excited that we've started a program called our Reading Buddies. This is the 2nd annual year that we've had our Reading Buddies. Well, what we get to do is to collaborate with middle school students, and they come into our classroom and read to our kindergarten students. The students are excited, they're engaged, they have high self-esteem just from this program. And that also is a great way for our middle school students to know that something is bigger than them, that they can get involved, being a little mentor for our little kindergarten students. And what this does is it builds roots into our Northport community, where we can have collaboration between different grades working together on our campus.
So when did you first fall in love with teaching? Keep in mind, military background, working in the public arena before coming to, when did you first fall in love with teaching?
I believe it was my first year teaching kindergarten. Getting those hugs and hearing when they walk into my room, they're not reading, they're not writing. And when they leave, they're doing so much. It really melts my heart to know how successful and the gains that they are making in the classroom from the time that they enter to the time they leave. That's when I fell in love.
So your students have 12 more years in school. How do you see yourself preparing them to be college and or career ready?
Well, I always motivate my students. I let them know that we are a class family and that your educational process is like a marathon. And that some of us are gonna make it and some of us are gonna be slow, but together we're gonna do it together. And I let them know that the skills that they're learning in kindergarten is gonna take them all the way up to higher education with the reading and computation skills.
So, again, you talked about the word success and how successful your students will be. When will you know that you are a success?
Well, when the students come back and they say, Ms. Seville, I'm now doing this, or I'm now reading, or I just got an email the other day that one of our students who was at Northport is now one of the top readers in their school. And it all started in the kindergarten classroom, learning those reading skills at the foundation level.
So, Ms. Seville, as an educator, what are you most hopeful about?
I am hopeful how many students we can help of all diverse and all cultures. How many people can we encourage? How many students can we mentor? That's what I'm hopeful about.
Mr. Ruste, what makes Ms. Seville the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Well, she's a great candidate. We have a very powerful staff and teaching staff down there, and she has really set herself apart and done a very nice job. She is the only returning kindergarten teacher this year. And so she was able to help guide and lead, 3 other new kindergarten teachers to come in, and she was able to be, in just 3 years, she has become a very strong kindergarten teacher and a leader as well, both on the kindergarten and on the campus as well. And you see the enthusiasm. And again, she's very, very much not only about her classroom, but about Northport as well, and the success of all of us at Northport and what we're doing there.
Ms. Seville, in your own terms, what is the soul of education?
The soul of education is making those connections with those students, making connections culturally, socially, emotionally, academically. And that will allow a student to become engaged, become critical thinkers, become problem solvers, and to become engaged in their learning process, making those connections.
I want to stretch you a little bit, Ms. Seville.
Okay.
Thinking about your background, okay?
Yes.
Dancer in New York, one of my favorite cities, may I ask. What would you say to your 12-year-old self?
My 12-year-old self. Well, at that time, I was dancing. I would say, Laurel, you're 12 years old, and one day you will grow up to not just dance in your community, but also help other students reach their goals through the music, through dance, through education, through chanting, through clapping. So continue doing it. You're not just doing this for yourself, but other little boys and girls in your community.
Fast forward to this Sorrel that's speaking to me now.
Yes.
What is it that fuels you?
The ability to help students, and that the job will never stop. The position will never stop. The opportunities will never stop. That's what fuels me every day, knowing that my goals are not met and I must keep striving to allow other students to reach their goals.
Mr. Russe, is there anything that
Determined.
Determined, yes. Dynamic, diverse, yeah. Is there anything that we have that you haven't shared with us about Ms. Seville that you want to add?
Again, I'm very proud of what Ms. Seville has done at Northport. I'm very thrilled for her. She's overcome a lot and has been very determined to be successful, and we're just very happy that, for her and all that she's accomplished, and I can't wait to see what she will do in the future, because again, she's always surprising us, and it was very much been a pleasure to watch her grow as an educator and watch her grow as a person as well, and then to watch her do that for her kids.
Ms. Seville, finish this phrase. I believe
that students can invest in themselves in their education process. I believe that students can, they will, and they do all they can do to make sure that they are on top of their process of learning.
My final ask.
Yes.
What is it that you know for sure?
I know for sure that I'm going to wake up every day as long as I can and teach. That is my calling, and that is my service to my students now and the future.
Thank you for accepting your calling.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to work with us here in St. Lucie Public Schools. Mr. Ruste, thank you for joining us. And Ms. Seville, congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year for Northport K-8 School. Continue to do those wonderful creative things that help make St. Lucie Public Schools a bigger, brighter, and better place for all of our students.
Thank you.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
We're welcoming at this time Ms. Susan Wessel, who's the Dynamic Teacher of the Year at Windmill Point Elementary. Welcome, Ms. Wessel.
Thank you for having us.
Joining us also is the wonderful principal there, Ms. Bree Lamb. Ms. Lamb,
Thank you so much for having us today.
Oh, it's great to have you on this show because it gives us a chance to, first of all, tell you congratulations, but to celebrate all the wonderful things that's happening in education, as well as introduce some of our wonderful teachers to our viewing audience. And with that, Ms. Wessel, just in case there are a couple of people watching that may not know who you are, give us a little bit about your bio.
Okay, my name is Susan Wessel. I graduated with my bachelor's in elementary education from the University of Florida. Go Gators. And
Go Gators.
Yeah, that's right. I stayed there and did an accelerated program and got my master's in elementary education also with outside concentration in educational technology.
Cool, cool.
And I've been teaching for 8 years.
Ms. Lamb, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Bree Lamb, the principal at Windmill Point Elementary. I am so excited. This is my first year to be a rising star at the Point. I'm truly honored to work with Miss Wessel. She's an amazing teacher, and our students just absolutely love and adore her.
And you're homegrown, right?
I am. I am
Yes.
a local girl. Went to school in St. Lucie Public Schools, and happy to be working here now.
We're glad to have you here. So, Ms. Wessel, what subjects, grades do you teach?
Okay, I teach art, kindergarten through 5th grade. I started out my career in 3rd, 4th, and 5th for 5 years. And then a personal passion of mine was always the visual arts. So I went back and got certified in art, and now I have my personal passion and my professional passion melded together. So I'm one happy lady.
So, if I were to walk in the art room at Windmill Point on tomorrow, what would I see?
Well, we are currently learning about Picasso, so you might be a little bit scared at first when you see some portraits, but it would be quite exciting. You would see a lot of student talk, a lot of chatter, a lot of vibrant colors, engagement. We practice kindness. I talk a lot about kindness is the greatest wisdom. So there's a lot of sharing, there's a lot of communicating, and a lot of pride in their art.
Now, we both know that the arts are naturally engaging for students, but how do you purposefully plan to engage your students with instruction?
Like I said, I have my ideal career right now. Starting off in the classroom, I work so hard to be in the art classroom. So I believe passion is contagious. So they see how excited I get with our newest study, and they can't help but get excited too. So I'm generally excited. I'm walking around the room. I'm showing them famous pieces of art. And, you know, kids like money. So I generally tell them how much they're worth or how much they went for auction. I make the auctioneer noise, and they get all excited. And we were doing the Dora Maar by Picasso, and I just told them that it sold for $96 million. And you're, what? And they can't believe it. So it's a lot of intriguing facts and study, and I try to always put it into the other content areas. Since I was a content teacher, I know their plight. So if I can integrate, you know, science and math and technology, I always try to do that because, you know, we all need to collaborate together.
Speaking of technology, how do you use technology in the art room?
2 years ago, I was awarded a classroom set of tablets, and it still gets me jittery today. I can't believe I have them. The future of the arts is in digital arts. You know, my sister is a graphic designer in California, and I did have an educational technology minor with Max at UF, so I have a lot of background in that. And we studied animation, and they created their own animation, and I linked it to the science curriculum where they had to animate the energy that they were studying, one of the 5 kinds.
Cool.
So we use a lot of tablets. They love it. So we're using it for animation right now, but we can also try to go to museums virtually. It's an exciting time.
Ms. Lamb, you're the lucky one. You get to see the magic happen every day.
I absolutely am the lucky one. I don't think that I'm just the lucky one. We have over 900 students at Windmill Point, and they truly are the lucky ones. You know, Miss Wessel infuses so much instruction from every area into her lesson planning, and not only within her classroom, but reaching out across into some of our other classrooms. The best example, and I hate to toot Miss Wessel's horn for her. Toot, right?
Yes.
But she is the recipient or one of the people within our district who received the Medici grant which is very exciting. So right now, she's infusing art within science, within STEAM. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about that, but I can tell you that the data and the results that she's getting are phenomenal. I couldn't ask for better. She truly has paired up with 5th grade science and is working hand in hand with them to create lessons across content areas. And that's what's engaging to students. That's what's interesting them and pulling them in.
Tell me this. When you walk into the classroom, what is it that you see, hear, and how does it make you feel?
Well, I do have to tell you, it is very heartwarming. When you enter Miss Wessel's room, it's almost like you're entering into what I would consider the best of the best. It's truly a collaborative learning environment where students are given opportunities to use multiple devices and different avenues to be creative, to harness what they know and what they want to know, and how they can apply that in all content areas. When I go in there, there's such a belief of positivity and capability and kindness that you see when you enter that classroom that is driven by Miss Wessel, who truly, if I had to say what adjectives describe her best, would be her passion, her creativeness, her love of students, and I would also say that she's also a life learner. She's a teacher who's continuously learning and wanting to do more and better for her students.
Ms. Wessel, have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
I think I was always steered in that direction.
Okay.
My father was a business professor at a university all growing up, so I saw him teaching. But you don't want to do what your dad does.
As far away from it as possible, right?
But I couldn't help but watch him, and I couldn't help but idolize him, and a neighbor that was in college had my dad in one of his business classes, and I remember that I was friends with his younger sister, and him saying, "Your dad is the best lecturer. He is so engaging and funny," and I remember at that moment seeing your father in a different light. It kind of opened up, okay, maybe I should be a teacher too. So he's probably going to watch this and smile, but probably my father, watching him, seeing him, and I always loved working with children, that idyllic nature they have, you can't help but want to be around them.
So when did you first really fall in love with teaching?
I would have to say right after college, I wanted to change. After my master's, I moved to Denver, Colorado, and I taught in inner city Denver for 3 years. I taught 4th and 5th grade, and it was a 95% English second language rate, so it was very high. And so there was a lot of strategies I had to use. I do not speak Spanish, it's mostly Spanish population. And just the amount of love that I received from those children and the amount of love from the family, it was very family oriented. I knew at that moment that I was in the right place, that I was making a difference, and that if I wasn't here, then they might be somewhere else.
The Teacher of the Year at Windmill Point is the Ambassador for Education. What advice do you offer to new teachers?
I would say that make your classroom a community. My slogan in my classroom is kindness is the greatest wisdom. There's a plaque on my desk. I point to it often. And if you can get them to believe that you're a community that shows kindness, that shows respect, everything else is going to trickle down. And create those relationships with your students, because you're going to have far less discipline problems and you're going to have much more engagement if you have that relationship. Have those tiny little conversations where you put your hand on their shoulder, look them in the eye and tell them you care about them, you love them, and that really hurt my feelings that you disrespected me when I was teaching. And just saying that to a kid, they look at you, and then guess what? They're the first one that when I say Mona and they say Lisa, they're the first one right up, ready, because you have that relationship. They don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to disappoint them. It gives me chills.
So, as an elementary school teacher, many conversations with parents. What advice do you give to parents to help them ensure that their child will be successful?
I'm a parent. And I'm taking a different look at teaching now that I'm a parent, and it's talking about what happens in the school day. Have that conversation with them so that they can process what they're learning, they can reflect on them, ask them questions, dive into it. What do you mean you learned about this? Show me. What is a math array? What do you mean array? You know, I didn't learn what an array was, and then they'll get down and they'll draw it for me. And even if you do know, act like you don't know. Let them be the teacher. Let them show you. So having those conversations with your children about what they learned throughout the day is going to make a lasting impact. And of course, read. Read, read, read.
Okay, Mrs. Wessel, Educational Ambassador, the governor is coming. He's bringing some of the cabinet members with him as well. Ambassador for Education, what's your message to them?
STEAM. The future of education is STEAM. I believe in the arts. The arts use a totally different side of the brain. If you put the left and the right hemisphere together, do you know what's going to happen? Amazing things. Science, technology, arts, math, all of that together, it's going to show. For example, we just did, so I'm paired with 5th grade with the Medici project with science. The science teacher, my co-teacher, taught this lesson on the energy. I taught on animation. Then I brought them together in an animation project where they had to animate the 5 different kinds of energy. So you have an art standard, you have the science standard, bring them together. Guess what happened? Pre-scores for the test, 23% were proficient. After coming together with the arts and the science, 76% proficient. That's a 53% increase with the arts and the sciences. Imagine if I would have put math in there. We would have had 100%. And that was 1 quarter. So, I mean, I'm obviously very excited about that.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I still have, 2 more quarters to go. I'm going for 100%.
I gotcha. I would think you're going to make it.
I hope so.
So, Ms. Lamb, describe Ms. Wessel for me using 3 adjectives and tell us why you chose those 3.
Well, I think she may have displayed one today. She's very passionate. She's very passionate about what she does, and encompassing art into a variety of standards and across the curriculum. So I would say passion is definitely one of the things that I see from Miss Wessel. Another adjective would be that she's very creative. I have to share with you, she spoke a little bit about Picasso, and just before we went on winter break, I had a student bring me a gift, and of course I opened this gift and was very excited to receive it, and it was a drawing of me, but done as a piece of Picasso. It was amazing. I was so pleased and so touched by this student who took time at home to create a picture of Miss Lamb, that I hung it in my office. It's hanging there now for everyone to see. And I've had quite a few people who've come in and say, "Oh my gosh, that's you." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's me. That's me. That my student drew that for me. That from Miss Wessel's class." So as you can see there, it's creative. It's a creative environment. That's definitely Miss Wessel, if I had to say. The last thing I would say is, and I think she's conveyed it some here today, is Miss Wessel is her kindness. And I know, when you think of somebody who's kind and you step back and you look and you think, what is really kindness? Miss Wessel does that in a variety of ways, demonstrating that. She demonstrates it to her students within her classroom. Small things that she does for them, giving that hand on the shoulder, encouraging them, believing in them, respecting them. She does it through bigger things as well, organizing school-wide kindness events. I think right now. Miss Wessel is organizing a kindness week with another teacher. They're working on it in partnership, creating kindness chains. I believe today was Smile Day, so our goal today was to smile at as many people as you could, and that was really fun this morning when students were entering. We were reminding them that today was Smile Day, and yesterday was High Five Day, so we were giving students high fives. Those are just small acts of kindness that make a huge difference, and that's what I see in Miss Wessel's class every time I visit her. So I would say she's extremely kind.
So what makes her the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
What makes her the perfect candidate? Well, I think she being as passionate as she is, described it a little bit, but she has the kind of the best of both worlds. She is the teacher that doesn't see a limitation on students. She truly teaches across the content using STEAM, supporting the science, supporting art, allowing students to use a variety of skills to feel successful. I can tell you, I believe I was in Miss Wessel's class once, and there was something, she was saying to a student something about that there is no mistake in art. You don't make a mistake. So just giving them that confidence and that courage of success, to be successful, to feel that in all that they do. That's why I believe she would be the best candidate for Teacher of the Year.
Ms. Wessel, every day you're going into the art room in the elementary school. What fuels you?
What fuels me? The students. Like I said, I really try and make a personal connection with over our 900 students. And sometimes, you know, you're groggy in the morning, and I have morning cafeteria duty, so I walk in every morning with my coffee. And, you know, even if you don't feel like you want to be there, I literally get 100 hugs every morning because I'm in there in the cafeteria. And so just them coming up to me, hugging me, that's the validation I need that I'm making a difference. And they're telling me what they were drawing at home the night before, or how they showed their mom this or their brother this, or, you know, they'll critique each other. Oh, he did this wrong at home, or she did this. So the students, they bring me my joy.
Finish this phrase for me. The world needs
creativity. The world needs creativity. Creativity leads to problem solving, leads to interacting better as human beings. If you can be creative to problem solve our world, then we're going to work together better. We're going to solve the world's problems. The world needs more problem solvers, and that starts with being creative and thinking outside the box.
So what is it that you know for sure?
I know for sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I know, I guess it happened in Denver, Colorado, looking around at all my students, that this is what I was meant to do. This is what I was meant to be. And even more so now that I'm an art teacher, that I'm teaching them about the arts, I'm teaching them how to make connections to the different subjects, and then I'm also teaching them how to problem solve in the world, and that's going to take them into their adult life.
Ms. Lamb, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ms. Wessel, congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year. Please continue to be passionate, creative, and kind.
Oh, I will.
In doing so, I'm sure you'll make the world a much better and brighter place for those students of St. Lucie Public Schools out there at Windmill Point. Congratulations.
Thank you. Nice talking with you.
You as well.
What this place needs is better graduation rates.
What this place needs is less childhood obesity.
What this place needs is free help with taxes.
What this place needs is healthy breakfast.
What this place needs is fitness programs for kids.
What this place needs is early readers.
What this place needs is mentors for teens.
What this place needs is people to join us. What this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org.
At this time, we want to welcome to our Teacher of the Year celebration show the wonderful Miss Amanda Kiefer, who's the dynamic Teacher of the Year over at Mosaic Digital Academy. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Joining her also is the awesome principal there, Miss Jean Zimba. Welcome, Miss Zimba.
Thank you, Dr. Perry.
Ladies, it's a pleasure to have both of you join us for two very special reasons. One, we get to congratulate you on your selection as the Teacher of the Year. In addition to that, we get to introduce some dynamic teachers to our viewing audience, and they get a better look at those persons that are teaching and working with our students here in St. Lucie Public Schools. But Ms. Kiefer, just in case there's someone that has not had an opportunity to be in your presence and meet you, briefly give us a little bit about your bio.
Sure. I've been in the education field for 12 years in St. Lucie County exclusively. From Michigan originally, and education brought me down here. I started at Treasure Coast. The second year it was open, so that ground floor, that making of a new school was something that really was enjoyable those first few years. And then when Mosaic opened up, I saw an opportunity to be at the ground floor of something else. So that for me has been really exciting. Over the past 12 years, helping these schools along and seeing how they've grown is a pleasure, and it's definitely a privilege to work for them.
So, Ms. Zimba, introduce yourself as well.
My name is Jean Zimba. I've been in St. Lucie County since 1992. I enjoyed being a classroom teacher here in St. Lucie County. Then I went on to librarianship, which I really enjoyed that career as well here in St. Lucie County. As the principal for the virtual programs, I have a very unique position because we actually run 3 virtual programs, K through 12, and so Mosaic Digital Academy is one of the programs that we're very proud of, and Amanda Kiefer teaches for Mosaic Digital Academy Upper School.
So what does it mean that you teach for upper school, Ms. Kiefer, and what subjects?
I'm the English teacher. I have 7 through 12, except for 11th grade. Our upper school is 6 and up. We're a K through 12 program here in St. Lucie Schools. So teaching that, I get to see these students in 7th grade and all the way through graduation. And we're starting to have those students that began those very early years with us be the first full class that will graduate with us. So it's amazing to see those kids and their growth each year.
So teaching for the virtual program, your classroom is a little different on a normal basis.
Definitely.
So tell us what it's like when you're actually instructing students in your virtual classroom.
In the virtual setting, you can do things synchronously, so I can pull kids in one by one and work with them, and there's no time parameters on that. If I need to work with a student for 15 minutes or an hour, I can. I can use my time wisely to make sure that I'm impacting those students. We can do synchronously with a whole group. So I can have all of my 7th graders meet me in the virtual classroom, and we can work on instruction in there so that they have a better understanding of the lessons ahead. So it's dynamic in that way.
So do you have a set time where you are meeting with the entire group of students at different grades? Or how flexible is your scheduling so that you can meet the needs of those students in the virtual world?
We don't have a set week-to-week schedule. So how I impact those students is I see the upcoming assignments. I see that testing season is coming up. So we really try to drill down on the standards that they need to know, and that's how we use our time in the synchronous manner. I pull the students in, and we work specifically on those standards that they're going to be tested on, and I make sure that they're fully ready for that.
So is there ever a time when you are actually face-to-face with your students?
Yes, I have the pleasure every week of being able to go into our lab, and students can come in and get face-to-face time. We use that time to have students come in. They can work on any subject. It doesn't just have to be mine. It could be math or science or social studies, and I can help them along in those courses as well. We do a goal setting in the morning, so when they're there, we want to make sure that their time is used wisely. They come into us to have them have a time where they can meet with their teachers, but also have a quiet space. Sometimes they just want to come in so that they can focus and really get to their goals.
Ms. Zimba, you have the opportunity to live in the virtual world with Ms. Kiefer and those students every day. What do you see the interaction being like when she's even in a virtual world or when those students are assembled with her?
Well, I think I'm seeing more focused students. They're there about the learning. They look forward to their time with the teachers. We have teachers that come on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Ms. Kiefer is there on Wednesdays. Students really do look forward to seeing Ms. Kiefer. They know that they can get answers to their questions about English, but they know that they can also get questions answered that are about any of their subject areas. Even if they want to know how do I format a paper, they're going to be able to get that help with Ms. Kiefer. So I'm seeing a lot more engagement with our teachers, with our students. Our students are excited about coming to school. They're not required to come in, but they choose to come in. And so we're seeing more transparency in what they're doing online, and we're able to interact with their students and invite them in to get additional supports when we are seeing a sign of struggle.
Ms. Kiefer, what's the most exciting part of your day?
The student interaction, definitely. We interact with students through technology mainly, so if they need a little push along, I can do that. I can text them and give them a little nugget of encouragement to get them through a lesson. If I see that there's an intervention spot, I can pull them aside and do that with them. So just that student interaction that you wouldn't think really happens in the online setting, but it definitely does.
Explain for me, please. We know that technology is important. Virtual world is technology, but how do you use technology to help you still further instruct students?
Sure. Technology, when we think about it, is a lot of use of the computer and their phone and such, but those 21st century skills go beyond that.
Yes.
If you think about students and what they're going to need to know for college and beyond, they're going to need to know how to organize their time and use technology in a meaningful way. That means that when they're engaging with their lessons, that they're purposefully taking notes and they're really absorbing that information so that they can be successful on the assignment. not idle time on technology. So we want to encourage them and help them understand the best way to use technology to support their education.
I'm interested to know, again, we have to remind our audience that you're in the virtual world, but engagement of students for instruction is still very important. How do you purposefully plan and use engagement?
So to encourage our students to engage with their lessons, we make sure that they have a very standard pace. So we take their lessons and we pace them out throughout the entire semester. So we make sure that they are engaging with those lessons throughout the week. And we can spot immediately before they get behind on anything, if they're not turning in the work, if they're having a struggle, there is transparency in there. So I can see if they're engaging with the work or if they are not, and then I can intervene and I can figure out if it's something, if they're behind because of sickness or if they're behind because they're having trouble understanding something, and I can intervene.
Very interesting. Ms. Zimba, describe Ms. Kiefer for me using 3 adjectives and tell me why you chose those 3.
Oh, passionate is the very first word that I can give you, because when I met Ms. Kiefer, those very early years, we were just building our virtual program. This instructor really embodies all the passion that you want your instructors to have. She really understands the mission and vision of our virtual program and knows that we have a very unique student body. And our student body really is very, very well connected to their family community, and their family community is part of their education because their classroom is their home, or wherever their parents take them to be able to access their internet and their classes. So when we sat down to write our mission and vision, Amanda Kiefer was there, and her passion was really, I want to make sure these students get what they need, get the support that they need, so that they're not going to have any barriers. They won't have those barriers that, we might not be able to see them, but we'll be able to see them. We'll be able to see the other aspects of, how they're performing and when they're not performing. So that's the very first word, passionate. Intelligent. This is a very intelligent woman. She actually helps in teaching 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. I mean, these are several different classes that she's teaching. She's able to quickly get to the gist of the assignment and help those students get clarity on what they're needing. She's able to see way ahead. We're chunking out their writing assignments, and she's able to really go in and help those students to be able to refine their writing in such a way that, her writing scores are amazing. We're very impressed with the impact that she's having on our student learners, and she's able to help the other core teachers help in their writing as well. And so that's another word that I would say, intelligent. And she's personable. She's extremely personable with the students and our fellow colleagues and the family members. The family members really want to make that connection as well. Busy lives that people have, busy lives that our students even have with their work lives and their extracurricular activities. Amanda's able to cut through that busyness and help them to reconnect and re-engage in their work, and that connection really matters in our virtual program, and that's part of our success.
So, Ms. Zimba, in the virtual world, are those students in school like a comprehensive school would be from 9 to 5, or where the teacher is available, even though I know the virtual world is always open to them? Is there like a set time?
There is not. I know we want to say that there is, but there is not. We have students that have committed to work lives. They have to provide for their families as well. There's single families out there that they're helping to provide income for those families. We have students that are athletes that are spending quite a bit of their daytime hours providing for their skill set. And they need the evening hours to be able to log in and complete their work. And our teachers also have flexible hours too, yes, so that they can actually support students that do have those idiosyncrasies with their daily schedules. But with sports and other extracurricular activities and jobs, you know, we have to be flexible, and we can be. That's what's so beautiful about virtual programs.
Correct.
So
Yes.
that's we kind of have a unique situation like that. I mean, our students really, you know, we can see what time that they're logging on at any given time. We can see that they're logging in on the weekends. Some students might be working for 7 days a week, might work on their courses 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, rather than 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. So we really have kind of an opportunity to be able to capitalize on when they're going to be focused. And every Monday, we're going to pull our attendance reports, and we're going to check to see if students are on pace. And if they're not, we'll send out a reminder about what the expectation is. And we have those live days built in so that they can come in and get the support to get back on track. So,
Ms. Kiefer, have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
It's interesting because my family is very involved in the education world, and I had great teachers growing up, so I just always kind of thought, like, this really resonates with me. So it's something, when I started college, I knew that that's where I would be heading, because it felt like it was a fit for me. I could really relate to kids, and I had opportunities in high school to work with younger kids through different programs that we had, and it was something that I knew that I wanted to do.
So what's different for you working at Treasure Coast Comprehensive Regular, if I may use that word, school as opposed to the virtual world? What's different for you?
The difference is the amount of one-on-one time I get with students. When I was in the classroom, you know, we went from 60 minutes to 90 minutes. I was through that change when we changed our bell schedule. And 90 minutes, even with the amount of 25 kids, doesn't seem like enough time. And now in the virtual world, I can spend the time that I need. If some students are needing an hour of my time, I can do that. If some students don't need any time with me today, that's okay. They can move on and move ahead. And so that's the beauty of it.
Great, great. So you were teaching at a comprehensive high school, you're teaching in the virtual world. When would you say that you honestly first fell in love with teaching?
I can distinctly remember my very first classroom in Treasure Coast, and students were engaged in a lesson. They were working in groups, and I stood in the back of the room and I just watched them. And I knew that what I had put forth in this lesson, they were doing. And I knew they were absorbing the information I was giving them, and I fell in love with the possibility of making an impact on these kids for the rest of their lives.
Ms. Zimba, what makes Ms. Kiefer the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
she just embodies the education field that, you know, we want to be able to have an individual just remove all barriers to learning and not think inside of a box, not think inside an 8 to 3:30 school day, but think in terms of what can I do for this student to move this student's learning forward. She doesn't have any of those mindsets that stop her from thinking, how can I help you today?
Ms. Kiefer, what is it that fuels you?
I see my students, since I've been doing this for 12 years, out in the community today. They're my children's nurses, and they're working at restaurants, and I see them all the time, and they come up to me, and I know that I've made an impact in their life, and that fuels me to continue to do it, because these students will remember me, and it could be 10 years ago that I had them, and they still come up to me and say their hellos, and so I know that I'm having a meaningful impact on their life.
Final question. Because you bring a different perspective to the table with your virtual world, and you also have that comprehensive background, what is it that you know for sure?
I know for sure that education will be evolving, and that we are a part of a path of education that is the future. We're not for everybody, but for the kids that we have, we make a significant impact. Maybe without us, they wouldn't have graduated. So I know for sure that if we continue to push the barriers of education and find all of these learning paths to reach all of these students, we will have and we will continue to have success.
Ms. Kiefer, thank you for sharing with us. Ms. Zimba, thank you for helping to enlighten us all about the virtual world, and congratulations on your selection.
Thank you.
As the Teacher of the Year for Mosaic Digital Academy. Continue to have that significant impact on those wonderful students as we continue to make the world a bigger, brighter, and better place for them all. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
We're welcoming at this time to the Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show, the wonderful Miss Andrea Blackburn from Samuel Gaines Academy. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
It is indeed a pleasure for us to have this opportunity to speak with you. First of all, to tell you congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And then it gives us a chance to introduce some of the wonderful educators from St. Lucie Public Schools to our viewing audience so that they'll see the dynamic professional educators that are working, doing wonderful things with our children each and every day.
Yes.
And she's brought along with her my dear friend, Mr. Keith Davis, who is the very proud principal at Samuel Gaines Academy. Mr. Davis, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
Again, we're going to celebrate and talk about good things that are going on in your classroom, why you are the Teacher of the Year, and you guys will fill us in on those fantastic new things that are happening at Samuel Gaines. But just in case, Ms. Blackburn, some of our viewers may not know who you are. Why don't we give them a little bit about your background?
Sure. I am a transplant. I am not a native Floridian. Surprise.
That's two of us.
I am originally from Rochester, New York.
Okay.
I was recruited to come down here and work at Sam Gaines. I've been there since day one, opened the doors, all 12 years. I'm very proud to say that, very excited to say that. I have a BS in communications journalism with a concentration in public relations. Comes in handy with our job. And English Lit minor, and then an MS in elementary ed.
So what subject are you teaching there?
I am doing 3rd grade this year.
3rd grade. So if I were to walk into your 3rd grade classroom tomorrow, what would I see?
You would see a lot of exciting things going on. We do accountable talk in our classrooms. Our school is really into that. So our kids will turn and talk to their shoulder partners. They will be asking questions. They will be listening to their partners. We do data chats, and not only as a grade group, but we do data chats within our classroom. I do data chats with my kids. We look and see what's going on with the district compared to the class and how we did with our unit assessments. We look individually how they're doing. I note with them and give them feedback about, you're doing this well, but we need to work a little bit harder on this. So you'll see feedback given, you'll see accountable talk given, you'll be seeing kids working in groups and partners, you'll see them working individually. Sometimes it's a little organized chaos, sometimes it's a little more, we're looking here, we're looking at our document camera and things going on in the classroom.
Mr. Davis,
yes.
Just in case someone doesn't know who the wonderful Keith Davis is, would you enlighten our viewers?
Wow. Well, I can tell you, I'm Mr. Davis. This is my 2nd year at Gaines Academy now. I don't know if you want me to share some of the things I've seen in her classroom or just kind of tell who I am. But we're in our 2nd year at Gaines Academy. We have changed the school's name to Samuel S. Gaines Academy of Emerging Technologies. We are a brand new STEM school, the only STEM school in Fort Pierce. So we're real proud of it. And we have partnered with Microsoft and Lego in the same process this school year. And we've been able to do an instant turnaround on where we are as far as academically, expectations, and just the fact that we're not only changing the culture, but we're rebuilding it at the same time.
And Mr. Davis, you are a native, am I correct?
I am a native. I'm a proud Fort Pierce Central graduate, class of '87. But yes, along with that, I've been into education here for about 24 years now. About 15 of those years have been in leadership, and then been in various schools from the high schools to elementary, and been really proud of how this district is transcending things and making moves in the right direction. So.
I just had to make sure that I got that Fort Pierce Central in for all of those Cobras that are watching us. You know, you didn't let Keith say what school is. Yes. But Ms. Blackburn, back to you. What's the most exciting part about your day or teaching for you?
Coming in first thing in the morning and just thinking about what's going to happen during the day. People say to me, well, you know, why teaching? Every day is different. That's why I love it so much. I never know what my kids are going to come in with or throw at me at some point, and I don't mean literally throw at me. I mean, you know, throw at me with different, you know,
challenges,
things going.
questions.
Challenges, yes. And so every day is exciting for me. So any given day, I can have any number of things going on.
I love when you talk about kids throwing at you, because what that means is that they're engaged in the learning, and they're making you dig deeper to be able to support what they're going. Talking about being engaged. Third grade, they're all moving. How do you purposefully plan engagement for instruction?
Well, I've been lucky enough, like I said, I've been at the school for 12 years. I've taught 4th grade, I've taught 2nd grade. So I know what they're coming in with, I know what they need to go with. So 3rd grade is new for me this year, but I'm very excited to get them rolling in the right direction and to pass the FSA and know what's going on.
So your kids came to you knowing more about technology than both of us put together.
Yes.
But how do you purposefully use technology for your teaching?
Well, we have document cameras in all of our classrooms, and I am a big user of my document camera. It helps me. Sometimes I project things on the board where the kids can go up on the board and write on the board using the document camera on the things I'm projecting up there. We do iReady, a lot of iReady. That's where I get a lot of my data from, and I can talk to kids, and it works on their level. We're just getting into robotics. We had a robotics night, or robotics day, excuse me, for our school. So it got the kids really excited about that.
I was about to ask you, and I want you to elaborate some more. My question was going to be, are you working on something new and or exciting at Sam Gaines? And we heard this thing about robotics. So let us know in on that.
Right. We're hopefully planning on doing it once a month, where the kids the whole school will participate in like a robotics deal. So we have our Legos that they come with, and I had my computer set up, and we followed all the directions. I had the kids working in groups. They built their robots. I was able to connect to them so I could make them move. It kind of blew their little minds, because they were like, oh my God, you're making it move. So they were really excited about that. I'm really, technology these days.
Yes.
It's moving fast, and these kids, like you said, they know more than I do, but showing them the robotics and where it can lead to and what kind of jobs you can get with it, that's getting them thinking about college, and that's what it's all about.
So this is in 3rd grade?
Yes.
So Mr. Davis, this is a part of your connection with Legos?
Correct.
And your new STEM name of Samuel Gaines of Academy of Emerging Technologies.
Correct.
Did I get it right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Mr. Davis, you get to see the magic happen in Ms. Blackburn's class every day. When you visit her class, what is it that you see, hear, or feel?
Well, I can tell you, coming in from the background of a secondary person, in high school, oftentimes we lean toward, we want to kind of see the activities in sports. My background is in mathematics. So sometimes we kind of lean toward, these are the things that excite us the most and kind of getting around. Sometimes if you're in elementary, you go to kindergarten because you want to see the little fun things and keep your time calm.
Yeah.
Well, Ms. Blackburn is one of my first visits on Monday. She makes Monday so much better because she is as engaged with trying to find out how the weekend went for the kids and just having that conversation with them. So when I walk into her class, I'm going to see the kids going through their routines, their morning routines. They're putting their stuff up. They're engaging questions. She's catching them at the door, having that candid conversation about your weekend. If I haven't seen her over the weekend visiting parents, in the community, because I've run into her a couple times, and we've been in the community and just like met up at a kid at two house just to see. So usually they're having that conversation, and then you can hear a small buzz, and the kid's like, "Oh, she came to my classroom this week," or "She came to my house this weekend," or "She talked to my mom," and things like that. So just taking that classroom beyond Gaines in the building to the community. So she's been able to bridge that for us.
For Ms. Blackburn to be the Teacher of the Year, that means she's involved in other activities outside the confines of her four walls of her third grade classroom. What else does she do on campus to help school work?
Oh, wow. Well, she's involved in the 21st Century, which is an after-school program. But the piece that she probably won't share is the piece that we have with the Elks program. She's taking the lead and being the lead sponsor in identifying our students from the age of 8 till about 11, till about 12, about 7th graders. So she helps them go on the Elks trip. It's in the summertime, but she also helps with the needs through the Christmas year. So she's really close sponsor with our Elks partnership. And they identify students of need, and they're constantly working back and forth. So she's been the main cog in getting those students involved this year. So, and of course, like I said, she's doing her own personal bridge of connecting with the community, and she does various things, and she's always asking what can she do next, along with being a leader on campus, of course.
Of course, of course. So, Ms. Blackburn, is there someone that inspired you to be a teacher?
Not just one. I've had a couple throughout the years. I would say the first one was in 5th grade. My 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Mills. She, back when I was in school, not many kids' parents were going through a divorce at that time. And, I was having a little bit of a rough go at it. She took the time to get to know me personally. And I thought, man, it took me all the way to 5th grade for a teacher even to care about that. And so that really made a big impression on me. When I got to high school, I had another teacher there, Mr. Guido. He was an English teacher. When my grades started to slip, he called me out on it. And I wanted to do well for him. Like, he inspired me to do well. I requested him as a senior in high school. I had a college professor that was really, helpful in getting me through my college years. So I've had about 3 different teachers throughout my time that have really inspired me.
So, as a Teacher of the Year at Sam Gaines, you have to talk to new teachers. What do you say to them?
Well, I am a mentor to a few teachers at our school this year, and I have been in years past. I tell them the same thing. Don't judge by the first year. Your first year is always your hardest year. Give it 2 years, at least 3 years, before you make any decisions, whether you want to continue in education, whether you want to continue at the same school, whether you want to do something else, whatever it is. But don't make your judgment in the first year.
12 years of teaching at Sam Gaines, you've had many conversations with parents. We've even heard Mr. Davis say he meets you in the community talking with parents. What do you say to parents to help them ensure that their students will be a success?
Well, first off, parents are surprised that I live locally. I don't know why that's a surprise, but it's a surprise. It's also a surprise to them sometimes when they're like, why do you want to come to my house? Nobody's ever come to my house. And I'm like, but why not? I just say I want to get to know my kids on a personal level too. Why are they not succeeding so well? Is it because of a lack of food? Is it because of a lack of sleep? Is it because of something that's happening in the home? Is it something that I can help solve? We have a food pantry at our school, so I can connect some of our parents with the food pantry so their kids are not hungry and they're not thinking about it. I really talk to them about how important an education is. That, I realize you work hard, you want better for your child, so let's bridge this gap. Let's make that connection and let's do it together.
If you had a chance to talk to the superintendent or to lawmakers or school board members, as an ambassador for education, what would your message be?
That we should all take a personal interest in students, not just those students that are giving us a hard time or those students that are our star students, like all our students. I don't want any of them to fall through the gaps. But why is it teachers only going out or a principal only going out and making these home visits? Why isn't somebody on the board of education going out and making these home visits? Why isn't the superintendent going out and making these connections and these personal connections and going on a home visit with somebody? Maybe, that should be done.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Describe Ms. Blackburn for me using 3 adjectives and tell me why those 3.
Okay. She's a problem solver. She took the lead this year as being my grade chair, and she pulled me off to the side, and she was like, well, Mr. Davis, we have a team of about 8 or 9 teachers. So she said, you know, instead of you having to hear about 7 or 8 different answers, have them kind of filter through me, and then I'll talk with you, and then we can problem solve. And then instead of you telling each one of them what needs to be done, tell me, and then we can kind of figure that piece out. If there are any issues, and if there's something that she cannot take care of, she'll bring it to me. But she knows how I am, so she's an excellent problem solver. So that's one. She's very persistent. She makes sure whatever needs to be done, she's going to follow through. She's going to text me later. She's going to follow through. She's going to retext me later and follow up with me and follow up with the different pieces that needs to take place. So we love that piece. And the main thing, she's humble. I've seen her come to me and just, you know, ask for some insight, and was kind of hesitant on just the approach, because she just really wanted to let me know, like, you know, I kind of respect your thoughts and your opinion, and I really want you to know that I'm listening and I want to learn and want to grow. But it's not only due to the position, but I think she's with that with her students. She's with that with her other colleagues. So just being humble and showing some humility, that's one of those pieces that you just can't find nor teach it. So those are the things.
So what makes her the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
She listens. She listens. She follows through, and then sometimes I don't listen, so it really helps to have her. And she listens, and she like I said, she follows through, and she cares. And I know that's kind of a cliche about caring, but she cares to the point that she's going to drive that extra mile. And then once she's at that mile, she's going to stay there and follow the task through.
So, when will you know that you're a success?
I've had students come back and tell me how well they're doing. That is when I know I've done my job. I've had students in high school come back, I'm going to college, I was accepted here, I have a scholarship. I have students who have been in high school and say, the confidence you instilled in me has carried over, and I've been able to further my education. That's where I know I'm successful.
Finish this phrase for me.
Sure.
I believe.
I believe that we need to continue to bridge the home and school and community gap. I believe that if we put those 3 things in place, especially with family, and we have that net there, that these students can be successful no matter what.
Final question to you.
Sure.
What do you know for sure?
I know for sure that I'm going to stay at Sam Gaines until they kick me out.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I know for sure that I'm going to continue to try to make that difference in a kid's life, whether it's the whole class, whether it's one, whether it's a couple. I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, thank you for being persistent.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year for Samuel Gaines Academy of Emerging Technologies. Mr. Davis, thank you for stopping by, and we appreciate this opportunity to celebrate you and your selection as the Teacher of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
At this time, we want to welcome to the Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show the awesome Miss Nicole Cook from Alapata Flats K-8 School. Miss Cook, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Joining her also is her wonderful principal, Miss Anna Rodriguez. Welcome to the show, Miss Rodriguez.
Thank you for having me.
This is a wonderful opportunity that we have to speak with you because you represent some wonderful teachers at your school. But in essence, you also represent those 2,100 professional educators here in St. Lucie Public Schools. It also gives us a chance to introduce some of our wonderful teachers to our viewing audience. So, Ms. Cook, if you would, just in case there's somebody that may not know who you are, introduce yourself to our viewers.
My name's Nicole Cook. I am a 2nd grade teacher at Alapata Flats. I started my teaching career in Broward County, where I taught 2nd grade and 5th grade, and then transferred over to St. Lucie County and began my career as a 3rd grade teacher in St. Lucie County, and just recently started teaching 2nd grade.
Where did you go to school, Ms. Cook?
Florida Atlantic University.
Florida Atlantic. Go Owls, right?
Exactly.
Oh, Ms. Rodriguez, just in case someone hadn't met you already as well, introduce yourself.
My name is Anna Rodriguez. Just like Nicole, I went to FAU, Florida Atlantic. I did my student teaching right here in St. Lucie.
and I started teaching in '97 at White City Elementary. After that, I taught at Mariposa. I'm sorry, it's been a while. And then I became an administrator, and I was an assistant principal for about 10 years, and now I'm the very proud principal at Alapata Flats for the 3rd year.
Very proud principal at Alapata Flats. I love that. I love that. So, Ms. Cook, if I were to walk into your 2nd grade classroom tomorrow, what would I see happening?
You would see all 20 of my students actively engaged in whatever lesson we are working on. If you come in during center time, you will see my students working with their flexible seating. So this year I wrote a grant for some different seatings for my kids because they're a little bit active, so it gives them a little chance to wiggle and stay focused. So you would see them definitely actively engaged in their learning.
So you have a lot of little Kevins in your room, is what you're saying.
I do.
Yes, I do understand. So, 2nd grade.
Yes.
What's your favorite part of teaching, or the favorite part of your day?
Favorite part of my day is watching my kids actually understand and really relate to the learning. It's wonderful to see them finally just like get it. They work really hard, and it's really nice to be able to see them when the content actually clicks. So I would say that that's probably one of the best things about 2nd graders is, they come in, some of them don't even know all of their letter sounds, and then by the end they are very excited to read and be able to understand what they're reading.
Ms. Rodriguez, you have the wonderful opportunity each and every day to watch the magic happen in Mrs. Cook's class. When you visit, what is it that you see, hear, and feel?
In Nicole's classroom, she has such withedness that, like she said, all of the students are engaged. There's no downtime. There's no wasted time of any kind. All of the students are working. Nicole is really good at knowing exactly what the intent of the standards is. So when you go to see what the students are working on, the work is relevant. It's something that matches that intent of the standard. So it's definitely engaging. It's definitely high rigor and the right complexity.
So, Ms. Cook, you talked about the little wiggly ones, which means you have to keep them engaged. How do you purposefully plan engagement for instruction?
Well, I make sure that all of my lessons include some type of movement. Especially with 2nd graders, it's hard for them, as well as myself, to sit there and listen to somebody speak without me having a chance to actually get up and move and really interact with the learning. So all of my lessons have some type of movement in them. So I am always making sure that when I'm planning, like I always think, how can I get them up and moving? What can I do this time that's going to really make sure that they are grasping the content that I want them to get and be able to talk about it with their peers.
Also, your students come with more technology information than all of us put together. How do you purposefully plan for and use technology for instruction?
Well, I try to use videos that are interactive within the classroom to make sure that the students get to see something that maybe I may not be able to share with them verbally, but because I am competing with technology,
yes,
I try to make sure that I am incorporating things where they are being able to watch it, and then we'll watch a video and then also maybe play four corners with the questions within the video. So again, they have an opportunity to get up and move, as well as using the document camera, so that way they can see what I'm doing as they are working on their task.
Have you always known that you wanted to be an educator, or did you discover later?
I always knew from the time I was a little kid. I remember playing teacher in my bedroom, and my brothers making fun of me as I was playing and yelling at my students. So yes, I always knew that I wanted to be an educator.
As you reflect back, do you think that there might have been a teacher that inspired you?
I would say my second and third grade teachers. That's probably why I love those grades as well. They were always very caring and loving. So I would say that those are probably my favorite teachers, and they probably definitely inspired me.
So, Ms. Rodriguez, We know that a person that's selected as the teacher of the year at all of our sites, they're heavily involved in the total operation of our schools. If we were to visit, what other activities would we see Ms. Cook involved in?
Ms. Cook has been a team leader for a long time. She is one of those Gators who comes and says, okay, there's a PD coming up. Can I do a session on this particular topic? She actually initiated something last year called Gators Sharing Great Ideas. She invited all of her colleagues to come to her room, and she does this periodically to learn more about the framework, learn more about strategies. That's something that she took the initiative to do, and the colleagues responded because they respect her and they admire her.
So, Ms. Cook, as the ambassador for education at Alapata Flats K-8, you have the task of speaking to many different people. What would you say to a new teacher?
To a new teacher, I would say to try to build relationships with your students. When you build relationships, you're going to show students that you care. And if students know that you care, then they're going to want to work harder for you and they're going to want to please you. So I would definitely say to take the time and get to really know your students.
You, as a teacher, you naturally have to communicate with parents for the betterment and benefit of children. What do you say with parents to help them ensure that their child will be successful?
To encourage their child. A lot of times I hear parents talking down to their child. Again, you want to encourage your child, let them know that they can do it. Just put forth the effort and show them that, you know, it might take them a little bit longer to learn the material, but eventually they will get it. So just to encourage a growth mindset within their child.
Now, the person that's selected as the teacher of the year for St. Lucie Public Schools will come from the ranks of those 40 teachers that represent their schools. Just in case that's you, you'll have an opportunity to speak to the superintendent, school board members, possibly lawmakers, community members. What would your message be about education?
Educators are extremely important. So just to treat educators with respect, let them know that they are respected would be very beneficial. And then to invest in the kids and make sure that they know that the kids are valued, and we need to really focus on letting the kids grow and learn. What can we do to better? What can we do to make sure that the kids know that we're here for them and to help them learn?
Ms. Rodriguez, define Ms. Cook for me. Describe her using 3 adjectives. And tell me why you chose those 3.
I would say smart. She's definitely smart. I would say she's hardworking and caring.
Why did you choose those 3?
Like I said before, she gets it. She gets what teaching and learning is all about. You've heard her mention a few times teaching and learning because they go together. You can't teach if you're not a constant learner yourself. And she gets how that works. You go into her classroom and there's a certain rhythm. Like I said before, everybody's on task. Her planning is impeccable. She's very methodical in everything that she plans for students. There's always a reason and a purpose for it. There's no busy work. She's also a role model for everybody, and only a smart person can do that. Get to do things a certain way so that other people look up to you and follow you. Hardworking, no matter what the task is, she'll do her best. She takes pride in what she does, so she'll come and ask questions to make sure that she's doing it the right way. She looks for that feedback. And caring, like you heard her before, she says she cares about relationship with students, and that is a big part of what we do, because just like she said, students will want to please you and perform if they have a good relationship with the teacher.
So, Ms. Cook, is there something new and or exciting that you're working on into your room that you know is having an impact on your students' learning?
I would say this year I tried the flexible seating, so that would be my new thing that I am trying. And I did it a little bit differently. Normally when you do flexible seating, the kids can kind of choose where they sit in the classroom. And I'm trying it at centers because we do reading centers at the very end of the day. So I'm trying the flexible seating at centers so that way they can wiggle and kind of get their movement out, but I know that they are staying focused and getting their work done.
So what type of flexible seating do you have in your room?
Well, we have wobble stools and we have cushions and exercise balls.
Great, great, great. So tell me, when did you first fall in love with teaching?
I would say the first time that I fell in love with teaching was probably the first time that I realized that I was making a difference in a child's life. Once I knew that I could really have that impact on a child, there's nothing better than that.
So you're teaching second grade. How do you see yourself preparing your students to be college and or career ready?
I'm teaching them the foundational skills that they need in order to be successful in college or career readiness. They need to be able to read and write, and I'm helping to teach those skills.
So it's a few years before your students graduate. When will you know that you have been a success?
I don't know if I'll ever know that I've been a success. I mean, I've had students come back and visit and say that they were very pleased that I was their teacher and invited me to their graduations. So I guess that would be a success, but I'm constantly looking to improve my craft. So I don't know if I would ever consider myself a success.
Ms. Rodriguez, what makes Ms. Cook the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Ms. Cook is not only an effective teacher, she is respected by everybody in the staff. That's why they chose her to represent the Allapattah Gators. She's been there for many years, so she knows our students, she knows our families, and she's dedicated. She's dedicated to the betterment of the whole staff and the students.
So I'm going to push you, Ms. Cook, and ask you to brag on yourself just a little bit. I know it's going to be hard, I understand, but Ms. Rodriguez just said that's why you're here about your peers. Why do you think you're here?
I guess my peers think that I'm doing,
That's
doing
a good
it
one,
right.
Cook. That's a good one.
I guess that's the reason. I know that my children do show growths and gains, and they always come back and visit. So I guess I'm doing something right.
So each and every day you go back into that second grade classroom, ready, energized, planned, prepared. What is it that fuels you?
The kids. I do everything for the kids. Every plan I make, everything is for the kids. I want to make sure that I am doing my best to make sure that they are successful.
When you think about the opportunities that have availed themselves to you, why do you think that you're really a teacher?
So that I can see the growth that the students make, so I can make a difference in their lives.
Finish this phrase for me. I believe
that everybody is capable of learning. With the right tools, any child, any adult can be successful. It's just a matter of putting forth the effort and taking the time.
When we think about life, living, what do you know for sure?
What do I know for sure?
For sure.
I don't know if I know anything for sure. It's life. Things can go anyway.
Yeah, always changing, right?
Exactly. I know for sure that we need more kindness in the world, and that we need to be more understanding to each other as a humanity, as society.
Okay. Ms. Cook, congratulations on your selection as a Teacher of the Year for Allapattah Flats. Ms. Rodriguez, thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting us celebrate all this right, all this good, and the things that you're doing to make St. Lucie Public Schools a bigger, brighter, and better place for all of our students. Again, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft. To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
At this time, we want to welcome to our Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show for 2019, the wonderful Mr. Russell Farmer, who is the Teacher of the Year at Performance-Based Preparatory Academy. Ms. Farmer, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
He's brought along with him our dear friend, the wonderful, awesome Mr. Dr. Arthur Jameson, who's the proud principal there. Doc, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure for us to have the opportunity to do the Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show every year because of two basic reasons. One, it gets gives us the opportunity to say congratulations to you. It gives us the chance just to celebrate the work that you're doing with those students each and every day. But it also gives us the chance to introduce some of our professional educators to those persons that are viewing the show so that they'll have a glimpse into those that represent the 2,100 plus other educators that are working with our students each and every day. But, Mr. Farmer, there may be somebody that does not know who you are. So would you give us a little bit about your background?
I'm originally from Ravenna, Ohio, a small town southeast of Cleveland. I went to college in Pennsylvania, in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. And I moved back. I majored in social studies, secondary education. I moved back to Ohio. I was teaching at a small rural school and close to where I grew up. Then some athletic director at Fort Pierce Westwood called me up randomly, and I yahooed, as polite before Google, where Fort Pierce was, and 17 years later, I'm still here.
17 years later, still here. Cool, cool. So, Dr. Jameson, maybe someone viewing that hadn't had the opportunity to meet you yet, so give us a little bit about you as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you. This is my first full year back here in St. Lucie County. Prior, I was here back in the years 2009 to 2013 as an assistant principal at Fort Pierce Central High School. And I've returned back to this area and started as principal at Performance Based in January of last year.
Cool. Welcome. Welcome again.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Farmer, we're at Performance Based Preparatory Academy. What's your role there?
I am the social studies teacher. I have all grades, all social studies, and it's my job to make sure that every student gets their social studies requirement fulfilled for graduation.
So what does it mean being the, with the emphasis on the?
The buck stops with me. U.S. History OC, that's me. Government, it's me. Economics, that's me. World History, that is me. Whatever that they need, I make sure they get.
So tell me this, being the social studies teacher at Performance Based Prep, your students are in grades what to what? What's the range?
Generally 10 to 12.
10 to 12. 10 to 12. So basically high school students for the most part. So if I were to come on the campus at Performance Based and say, Doc Jameson, walk me around, and we went into your room tomorrow, what would I see occurring?
At the beginning of the period, you'll see me walk around with my cell phone cart, collecting all those cell phones. That kind of a big barrier to instruction. For some of them, that's why the students are at our institute. And then as I walk around, I also say good morning to all the students, get to see what's going on with them during the day, see where they're at, what they need, walk around. During class, hopefully I'm walking around monitoring what every student's doing on the computer, and before there's a problem, catch them so they keep them moving, give them their assignment, helping them figure out what they need, answering questions, and make sure by the end of the period that they've accomplished something close to graduation.
So, Mr. Farmer, those students come in and you have multiple grades and multiple subjects. They also have some computer-aided instruction as well. How do you keep them engaged in instruction?
One of the things I do, I try to catch items local related. For example, Zora Hurst, she's a local person, taught LPA for Fort Pierce. So if I see something like that on the computer screen, say, hey, did you know where they're from?
Mm-hmm.
And I start that kind of dialogue. Also with economics, being that if you don't understand economics, it doesn't matter what you do in life, you're going to struggle. And so I always relate to money because students are interested in money.
Understand money, yes.
So that immediately gets students' attention as well. Like I talk about my credit score and try to get them thinking.
In addition to that, technology, and I know they have computer-aided instruction, but do we use any other methods of technology for instruction?
Well, for me, the students, it's tough to sit at a computer all day long. I know I wouldn't do it. So our school is computer-based. I do a lot of old school teaching using papers, like the old school pencil and paper. Mm-hmm. And I try to put key things that I know the state assessed in the EOC. I try to have the students go through and use a textbook to find that stuff. Try to get them off the computer, because sometimes in a computer, you have a little box, wah, 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 like Charlie Brown. And the students don't have very clear focus, so I feel it's my job to give paper, pencil, try to narrow it down a little bit to give students a little focus.
Dr. Jameson, you get to see the magic happen every day with all of those social studies courses, because as Mr. Farmer assured me that he is the social studies teacher. What is it that you see or hear when you visit the classroom?
As he said, yes, he is the social studies teacher for our school. What I see with him is a creative teacher that's getting the students to stay engaged in completing their coursework. He used the layman's term, paper pencil, but in education it's called blended learning. And so he does a great job in blending the learning, infusing paper-based assignments along with computer-based assignments to get the kids through the coursework. And he does a wonderful job at that, of course, keeping them engaged. And the data shows, he gets more students completing coursework in his courses than some of our other teachers in some of the other core courses. And he's the only teacher doing social studies. So he's a trendsetter. I consider him to be a trailblazer. And what I'm seeing is that some of our other teachers are now looking at what he's doing and trying to mimic that, copy that, and infuse that into their classes. But of course, it takes time, and so why not start now?
So, Mr. Farmer, have you always known that you wanted to be an educator?
I think being a first generation to go to college, and as statistics show that you tend to fall in education, I think that's kind of how I've fallen into it, because it is the one professional educated job I saw growing up. And I think my coaches growing up were old school. And I know they influenced my style a little bit, because my coach is like, oh, you lost your arm, ice it, tape it shut, and get back in there. And so I think teaching-wise, I have that mentality to help students focus. And I think that's kind of why I went to education.
So you mentioned the coach, but who actually inspired you think, to become an educator?
I really just think probably my coaches.
The coaches?
I think because they were always consistent. They're the reason why I never had perfect attendance in high school when I was growing up. And I'm sure sports played that role. And I think because I enjoyed my high school experience, so it's only fitting that I guess I could carry on in high school.
As the Teacher of the Year, you're naturally the ambassador for education at Performance Space. What advice do you offer new teachers?
New teachers, they don't know what they don't know. And I think a few things that are really important is, one, pick your battles. You don't have to win every single battle. Let the students, if you need to, have the last word, but you do have to win the war. Focus on the core business of school, of teaching, learning, get them to graduate. Focus on that. And don't take things personal, because teachers have bad days, students have bad days. Perhaps they cuss you out one day, but they're going to love you the next day. And it's hard. When I worked in the factory and construction, in the day you go home and it's over. Teaching, if you're a good teacher,
it goes with you.
You're going to reflect on the day, what you could do to make the day better, what could I have done to ward off the situation or whatnot. And new teachers, I've seen new teachers cry and burn out. Just don't worry, reflect what you can do better and move on. So I know there's days I drive around the school looking for my statue, where my statue should be. And there's other days I get in the car before anybody sees me, because I don't want to make sure I can come back tomorrow. But the truth is, I'm never that good, never that bad. And so I try to tell new teachers that as well.
So what are your conversations like with parents to help them ensure that their child will be successful?
I think the most important thing, in my school is a little different, where they're used to getting report cards. There's no report cards at my school. It's all student-centered, student-driven. And I think the most important thing is to explain the Ingenuity system and make sure they understand the credits as well as their testing responsibilities, because some parents think their child goes to school every single day. Well, surely they're going to graduate with the credit. Well, not necessarily. And I think parents at my school need to make sure they understand the structure of the school and how Ingenuity and our program's set up.
So I'm visiting your campus, and I come with the superintendent. I come with the sheriff. Maybe I come with school board members. And as the ambassador for education, what's your message about education to them? What would your message be?
My message would be about how important public education is, and how we really got to focus on graduation to get students career ready, and show what we do at our school is we're trying to really change all the previous past to make them better students.
Dr. Jameson, describe Mr. Farmer for me using 3 adjectives and tell us why.
I would say creative. I would say dedicated. And I would say he's passionate, what he does each and every day. Creative in the sense that, like I mentioned earlier, the fact that he's infusing blended learning, and the data shows that the students are progressing, and also the data shows that the students are doing better on their EOC assessment. I can't ask for more. What he brings to the table as a leader at our school, he comes from the comprehensive high school way of teaching. And so with that being said, he knows both sides of the fence, so to speak. And for my staff, where I have, some new teachers, fairly new teachers, he's one of the leaders that I lean on to have those conversations that matter about what he just talked about. Don't take it personal. They're still students, teenage students, and, they're here to learn, but, we still have to, keep the discipline in check with them. Dedicated, he's there each and every day. I can always count on him to lead the school if I'm not there. He's our FAC leader, representative for our school and so forth. So yeah, he is dedicated, passionate. He's all about the students and learning.
So, Mr. Farmer, when did you first really fall in love with teaching?
All the way back to my first year at Fort Pierce Westwood graduation. Because you don't realize the impact you have on students. You think, students, they hate you and all this stuff. But that graduation, when you get the thank yous and the hugs and hear mom and dad's blowing the air horns all proud, and just, I think the first graduation definitely, because kids always wanted to shake your hand. I'll shake your hand graduation. And I remember one graduation, was a huge line because they just wanted to shake my hand. And that touched me.
So tell me, what do you think has been your greatest impact?
I think my greatest impact is I can make things relevant, because some students hate history and social studies because, it's not my life, what do I care? I think I can show a connection to the past, to the future, and students really appreciate that.
What inspires you?
Seeing students succeed. Some of the students that come to our school haven't had success in the past, and I love seeing the students have success at our school. I do a studying of the week where I pick a student who did something great, whether it be academic behavior, and they don't get anything for it. I give them a pencil and I put their name on my door. And seeing students take pride, want to pull their phones out, take a picture of their name on the door, send it to their family, that really influenced me that I'm doing something great.
So, Dr. Jameson, what makes Mr. Farmer the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Well, I think, number one, it goes back to our school and what our purpose is here in the school district. With our school, we have some students that are at our school, like Mr. Farmer has said, that have not had success. And when they come to our school, in many cases, they're down because they're leaving their high school with all the social aspects that high school has to offer. Many of them don't want to be at our school.
Correct.
And so, we have to build them up, and we have to show them that this path is another way to earning their high school diploma. And so, having an individual like Mr. Farmer at our school who's all about the students, all about seeing them succeed, it makes my job easier. And, it's tough every day working with our students, but it's also rewarding. When we see those little rewards where they're so happy about, because they don't get that, they haven't gotten that many rewards in the past. And so, our best day is graduation day. Mm-hmm. When we see those students walk across the stage and they're crying, they're elated, their parents are crying and elated because they didn't believe. And having an individual like Mr. Farmer who helps them learn how to believe and how to be positive and how to change their mindset, that helps, for me and makes my job easier. And so, in my aspect of being a principal at an alt-ed high school, dealing with the students that we deal with on a daily basis, the students that are sent from their comprehensive high school, having Mr. Farmer be as successful as he is in getting students to achieve academically. That's why I believe he should be Teacher of the Year.
How do you see yourself having an impact, Mr. Farmer, on students' ability to be college and or career ready?
Well, I think when they come to us, they're behind. And so my impact is for students that get caught up academically to leave with a diploma. And a diploma is the key to whatever else they have goals, ambitions afterwards, whether it be college readiness or career ready. If you don't have the diploma, it's almost like Monopoly, you can't pass go. And it's definitely my responsibility to make sure I do everything I possibly can for every student to be successful in my room, so therefore they get their social studies credits, move on to graduate.
When will you know that you are a success?
The students will let you know.
Yeah.
The students, they don't hide, they'll let you know. when you pass them at the Publix or the Walmarts of the world, either they go dunk and hide in the aisle, or they're going to come up and say hi to you.
So you've been in St. Lucie County in the St. Lucie Public Schools for 17 years. What do you think is the soul of education?
Teaching and learning. I know I spend my days, what can I do to get these students to learn more than what they're currently learning? And I just focus on that. And that's one thing I feel that the more of them around, the better I think I've been getting at.
So what drives you? What fuels you every day?
The graduation. I love seeing students graduate. And then you see them out in the Walmarts in the community and later on. And that fuels me to keep going to work.
Last question. What do you know for sure?
I know there's too many cell phones. I feel that that's sometimes a great barrier to students learning success. And also it leads to some of like the bullying stuff we see, because in the old days you bully for lunch money. Nowadays bullying carries on outside. And so I know that sometimes technology can be a little overrated.
Congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year at Performance Based. Dr. Jameson, thank you for coming along. We want to, again, tell our viewers how excited we are to celebrate the wonderful teachers like Mr. Russell Farmer and the work that they're doing each and every day to make St. Lucie Public Schools a bigger, brighter, and better place for those students that call St. Lucie Public Schools their home. And that's why we celebrate them with this Teacher of the Year Spotlight Show 2019. Thanks for joining us.